Give me 1 second. I'm gonna play this video while we try to get everybody back.
The United Auto Workers have gone on strike. So this is after 90% of the workers rejected John Deere's latest proposal, a proposal that included pay hikes which were being offset by pension cuts for new hires. Now, in a minute here, I will also show you a surprisingly fantastic breakdown of this from ABC News of all places. But before I get there, I'm going to break it down here myself. So this strike is over wages, rest periods, and meal breaks. John Deere, the company, is expected to make nearly $6 billion in profits this year. Workers correctly identifying that they are the ones responsible for the vast majority of those profits and expect a pay raise because of it. So they are on strike now, and let me first show you their announcement here. So the UAW saying, quote, "Our members at John Deere strike for the ability to earn a decent living, retire with dignity, and establish fair work rules. We stay committed to bargaining until our members' goals are achieved." And that's from the UAW Vice President Chuck Browning. Now, our one reaction here: Bernie Sanders, one of several pro-labor lawmakers standing in solidarity with these employees. Bernie Sanders are tweeting out profits at John Deere have skyrocketed by some 61% in recent years, while its CEO's salary has exploded by 160% since the start of the pandemic. Please do not tell me they cannot afford to pay their workers fairly. I am proud to stand in solidarity with United Auto Workers members on strike. One more thing here from More Perfect Union. So they say here, striking John Deere workers in Ottomanois. Apologies for the pronunciation there, but in Iowa, tell us that there are over 120 people on the picket line. Restaurants are bringing down food for picketing workers and giving in-store discounts to union members. And Teamsters and UPS workers are refusing to cross the picket line. Fantastic. Now, I will show you, before I get to the video, BBC, I'm going to show you
Did you know all these
what
strikes were
John Deere
going
right now
on? There's
is
a bunch
trying
of
to do
people
to replace
strikes
these
across the
workers.
nation.
But first here,
No, I didn't.
has done a
Well, I know about some
on this
because there's some truck drivers who are
The media
uh
pressing it
article,
big time.
and these tweets below the
the
video.
what? Oh, they're
Media-
suppressing it.
But
Yeah.
he
Oh,
tweets
yeah.
out here in early September, Deere presented a disastrously bad first offer to the membership. They likely wanted to lower expectations by super lowballing them, but ended up pissing everybody off, and members authorized a strike by 99%. On Sunday, members shocked both the union and the company by rejecting the contract by a whopping 90%, with 90% of members voting. This seems to have been a wake-up call to the UAW, who quickly announced a strike deadline of tonight. So it's worth pointing out here that, union leadership often is not in line with the actual members, which is why they appear to be shocked by the rejection of the latest offer. But here you have the members speaking up, the ones being heard here, and the ones pushing for this strike. Going on, Jonah Furman says the Deere strike in particular is about corporate profits against stagnating wages, decades of two-tier and concessionary contracts coming home to roost, a member revolt against the status quo, tacitly endorsed by the status quo, and tight labor market and the pandemic. It's amazing to see workers finally standing up for themselves. And as I'll get to in a minute here, it isn't just these John Deere workers. There are several strikes and potential strikes going on all across the U.S. Now, this is what John Deere is attempting to do to replace these workers. So this from Labor Notes. Deere sees the writing on the wall. Salaried workers who aren't in the union shared with Labor Notes details of Deere's customer service continuation plan. The company's plan to use salaried employees to keep the plants running during a strike. Quote, they have been having about one meeting a week with employees eligible for the CSC plan starting 3 weeks ago, wrote one salaried employee. Anonymously, for fear of retaliation, their attitude was that a strike was not happening and this is normal. But in more recent days, that clearly the tone shift, and they began basically intimating that, yes, you are going to have to be replacing these workers. And it's good to see this, at least in my position. This is from one of the people's salaried employees that are being pushed to replace these workers. In my position, I'm not looking forward to this. I think the wage employees deserve a lot more than what they were offered, and I absolutely support them striking. This employee does go on to say, though, I mean, you may be wondering, if they're in support, then why are they willing to replace these workers? But the worker says here, I feel like I am betraying some of my values by crossing the picket line, but it has been but it has been all but said that not crossing the picket line means getting fired if you are salaried. So these salaried workers, out of fear of them
You heard
losing
that?
their jobs and being fired,
And I
are
think that's true
willing to
because
replace these
the
positions.
people who
That
get
said,
fired are
if
hourly,
the salaried
almost
workers are able to
always.
get together and just refuse to do so, they're not going to fire
Salaried
all
people
the salaried
stay.
employees. So there would be a way for them here to work together in a union type fashion, even though they're not union. But these particular employees could be working together to try and bust up this this plan. Now, let me get to this shockingly great segment here from Good Morning America, particularly ABC News, on this strike and also other strikes that are going on.
This morning, 10,000 workers at John Deere hit the picket lines in Iowa, Illinois, and Kansas. They argued that even as the agricultural equipment company's profits grew by 61% in recent years, and their CEO's salary grew by 160% during the pandemic, their pay has actually been cut.
We need to let them know that they can't continue to take our money and take our money and take our money.
Across the country, labor is on the march. In California and Oregon, 24,000 nurses and other healthcare workers at Kaiser Permanente voted to authorize a strike over pay and better working conditions. Meanwhile, union workers at Kellogg's cereal plants have been on strike for more than a week, angry about long hours, including 7-day work weeks.
Bet y'all didn't hear about that.
Our number one priority is to get back to the negotiations table and reach a contract so our employees can get back to their jobs and their lives.
And soon, Hollywood may see a walkout. 60,000 film and TV crew members could walk off the job Monday over what they claim are unfair working conditions.
Our hours are really grueling, and we need not just rest between the workdays and over the weekend, but an actual meal break during the day.
And across the country, a record number of workers are quitting their jobs. 4.3 million Americans, or 2.9% of the workforce, left their jobs in August. Many are looking for better work conditions and pay, especially with inflation on the rise. Several forces are driving all of this. As the pandemic comes to an end, companies are seeing sky-high demand and very tight labor markets. They're having trouble filling jobs. Workers notice that top executives and bosses are getting paid. And so for the first time in a long, long time, workers have the upper hand.
Incredible. Great segment here from ABC, pointing out, harping on the fact that you have bosses and the CEOs, the executives of these companies making a ton. You had the, as mentioned by both earlier by Bernie Sanders and in that segment, the CEO's salary exploded by 160% since the start of the pandemic. So you can't do that as the CEO and then not expect your workers to also see a similar.
So yeah, what you think about all that?
It's typical. It's atypical. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not a new phenomenon of, how this whole thing works out, because, the owners, if they can, because they feel like the CEOs are the one that's creating the atmosphere for the growth, when clearly, for most people I guess the way that a lot of them look at it is that the production line is interchangeable. The CEO is the one.
But that again goes back to the detachment. I think it's either detachment or delusion, because the people out there on the floor, like I said, I used to work at Home Depot, and the managers out there, they know the difference between one employee and another, and how what happens. They give you all this fucking work and tell you to get it done in this amount of time, and most people just not going to do it. Like, they don't even have the capability to do it. It's really impossible. Sometimes they ask you to do shit that's impossible. But you got talented people out there who want, they make it work. They figure out a way to freaking get it done in the time that they say get it done, even though it's some impossible shit. And then the manager, he feels all like, oh, I'm the, and it goes uphill. The next person up is like, oh yeah, I did this, and then all the way up to the CEO. No, it was that nigga that fucking was working right there in the warehouse who figured out how to get the shit done within the time that it need to get done. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like for me, it always goes back to the greed aspect because even the owners of John Deere, we're going to talk about John Deere. They, if they give, because we don't know what the CEO was making. He made a 160% growth in his income. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he was at 150,000. Now he's making $1 million. For them, it makes more sense to pay this one person $1 million than to pay 10,000 people an extra $10,000.
But
Or
that don't make sense because the money is the exact same. The
well,
company is not losing nothing.
I
Instead of
understand.
giving it all to that one guy, distribute it out to the people of the
I would.
company.
I agree. I lean.
Same
What
money.
I'm just trying to show you. I'm really just trying to like the mindset that
Right.
these people have
Right.
because they feel like these jobs that these people are doing in production,
They don't
anybody can do
deserve it.
those.
Right.
Well, they just feel like it's just
Interchangeable.
yeah. So that's the
That's
mindset
why.
they have. So they'll give this shrewd CEO, the person who's in control, them more money to be able to like they can because they might be the ones that will shift it to be where they hire a private contractor that'll
Exactly.
take that'll take a a,
Exactly.
a smaller amount. Like if they're paying the workers 20, 25, $30 an hour, they can make a private contractor pay. They might be able to
Maybe
hire
somebody
people
who's
for
illegal.
for
Illegal.
$12 an hour, and the contractors they are able to make some money, and then the John Deere doesn't have to pay insurance. They don't have to pay, like
Right.
health
Health
insurance and all these different things. So that's the idea they go with at their bottom line instead of
because
actually
of
caring about people because they don't realize that these corporate entities is what brings the value of people's
and
lives to nothing.
and that book goes back to the profit model, like I was saying. And that's why we need labor unions and strikes, because people seem to forget quickly. Like they had to go on strike and had to have strong labor unions just to get a minimum wage, just to get children from not working in factories and getting mutilated in their arms and growing deformed because they in factories. They had to strike and have unions to get us our 5-day work week and our 8-hour day, because before that they worked your ass to whatever time.
Yeah.
And it was nothing you could say, nothing you could do. You get off when I fucking say you get off. And then, hopefully you got time to sleep.
And even having an hourly rate instead of getting paid by the day. All right, you come on, you come in for the day. I'll pay you $50 for the day, and the day ends up being a 16-hour day instead of an 8 or 10-hour day.
And with the profit model in mind, the corporation is never going to be fair with you, and they're going to try. Not only are they not going to be fair because that's built in the system, but they're going to also try to get as much as they can in profit out of not paying you. Because the biggest anybody knows, if you own a business, besides the expenses like direct operating expenses, your next biggest bill is, guess what? Labor. And
Oh yeah.
you can't move around the direct operating expense that much. Usually those it's fixed. That you might have a little bit of margin there, but not very much. But over here on labor, you got a whole big huge area where you can, move around that so that
Well,
your profits
well,
are better.
and I'm gonna tell you. I mean, hopefully you have a union head that was once one of you that actually can relate. That relatability because if they might be one of those because I mean it
In
becomes
theory, that's
politics.
how it works.
It becomes politics within that too because I mean
Right.
depending on
He
whoever's at the
mentioned He mentioned that in the video. He mentioned that in the video that
Yeah.
there tends to be a disconnect between the union leadership and the regular folks. But that's crazy when you think about it, because the union leader should be a regular folk. That's the whole point.
Well, you never know. I mean, because some of them may have gotten appointed or found their way. They could be, you know, the union head could be the cousin of the owner or even the CEO. You never know. So that they
They got
have,
planted,
yeah,
controlled
they
opposition.
exactly. Sometimes that's what's happening because you know that's just like you know you go to court. The lawyer has a responsibility to the court before they do to you, and that's what ends up happening a lot of times with the representatives within the unions. They end up, because they may take a bonus, they get some undercover money. It's like, hey, you know, when it comes down to it, like, yeah, you're for them, but don't forget, motherfucker.
It is what it is, right? But I want to focus on the fact that, people are fighting back. And like I say, I feel like we're in a powder keg right now. Ain't no telling what the hell's going to happen, because we're ripe. We're ripe for revolution. And the media is not covering these strikes and shit that's all over the place.
Think that's a mistake.
They don't make mistakes.
No, they're very calculated. So, I mean,
There's also COVID. And that's another thing I'll be saying. They co-opt. I was saying it in the other video. They co-opt what the protest is about. Like, people will be protesting about worker rights, and then they'll say it's about COVID mandates.
oh yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, look, man, there's a lot of things. I mean, some of it might be even COVID related, but you got to think about the the stress that a lot of people were under. Let's just say, let's just talk about the nurses and stuff in the hospitals that, you know, they fought this whole virus thing with people before there was a shot, helping people stay well and helping, you know, people, and then all of a sudden, all right, well, we don't really care if you stay or go. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna do what we say, or you're gonna, like, there's a lot of things that's happening under the covers that people don't realize. I mean, that's one of the things that was wide open, but like these things that's going on at Kellogg's and all these others, we may not really know the true depths of what conditions they were under while they're working. You know, and
And a lot of the protesting is that people complaining about conditions. They're complaining about, their bosses not following the law. Like we were saying in the other video about the overtime and shit. Yes, it's the law to pay them overtime when they work overtime, but that's not always what happens.
I've been a wage worker, and I like there's times where I'm like, wait a minute, hey man, y'all didn't put my overtime on here. You know, no, look, here go my time card, blah blah blah. Oh, okay, it'll be on your next check.
So it's common. So it's common. That's one of the things that people complaining about, and not having proper, like, paid time off, regular schedules where they can plan their life. It's a lot of having to do with work-life balance stuff. And it's crazy because the media, especially in America, it's like the work-life balance is not an argument for never. Like, like people are like, I want to have time for my family and still make enough money to pay my bills. Like, what?
No. What you think you think you're me?
And that's another thing. It's that elitism, because it's so crazy how everybody has that attitude, but everybody knows the nice job, the salary job, that having 6 weeks of vacation, that 401k, that healthcare plan, those weekends off, the 9 to 5 hours, the location, that's super important to those people. And they do package deals. When it's a good job like that, they come to you and they be like, okay, so, we can pay you this amount and put this amount in here, or do it like this or do it like that. It'll be you making the decisions on how it's going to go. They don't never come at you like that when you are, a regular hourly employee. You don't never hear none of those options. You know what I'm saying? Never,
Uh,
never, never, never.
no,
And
they're
so,
always trying to find a way to take more from you.
and if you do say something about work-life balance, they're laughing at you like you crazy. You need to be thinking about working a second job so you can make some more money or something.
Yeah. While they going home and actually having
With
dinner with their family,
with the one
or
job.
with that one job, or even being able to, take vacations to, and then you're like, oh, look, I'm not going to be here, for the next week or so, blah, blah, blah. Like, well,
And we're
damn,
gonna and we're
what's,
gonna need you because I'm not here, and you're my strongest guy. You really know this stuff. We're gonna need you to go ahead and come in on Saturday. I know you normally don't work on Saturday, but we're gonna need you to come in on Saturday, and we're gonna need you to come in on Sunday. And what we'll do is we'll give you 2 extra days off when I come back from vacation.
like, yeah, but that's going to mess up my check that next week. You're going to get, I mean, is that going to be paid?
No, No, but you do get the extra 2 days off to give you some time to rest and recoup. And you know what'll happen? Just like what you said, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that's gonna fuck up my money." You know what? I'll just come in. So, oh well, I tried. I tried to give you some more time off, but if you want to work, then go ahead. You can come in. I'm not gonna tell you not to do that. So
yeah.
you end up still not getting the benefit that they offered you or whatever. Ain't that some shit? This lady right here is annoying as fuck. I ain't gonna lie. And I ain't gonna lie, I got 2 clips of her. But with that said,
Oh,
that
shit.
I'm not gonna play all of it, but some of the information is the point. And plus I want to talk about the angle that she's coming from. Check it out.
Thousands of people have been protesting the country's Green Pass. The pass requires either proof of vaccination, a negative test within the past 48 hours, or proof of prior infection
That's
within
another
the past
one.
6 months. Now, this is for any and all international travel, indoor restaurants, theaters, and gyms. In early September, it was extended to long-distance train rides, buses and ferries, domestic flights, and parents entering schools. Now it's been extended to every single worker in the country of both private and public businesses. At times, the protesters have turned violent as they've stormed the headquarters of Italy's largest labor union. The protesters then headed towards the prime minister's office, where they were met with water cannons and tear gas. Nancy Pelosi actually happened to be in Rome visiting the country's leaders when chaos from the protests broke out. And the speaker and her husband actually had to be whisked from a church that they were visiting to safety. Even Jared Leto, who was in Rome for his band, 30 Seconds to Mars, he says that he was accidentally tear gassed by the police. These protests have been going on for weeks now, and Italy is showing no signs of letting up, despite the fact over 80% of the population is vaccinated. In Switzerland, people must show a COVID certificate, which grants a person access to indoor bars, restaurants, large gatherings, including weddings and train rides, and even checking into some hotels if they've been fully vaccinated. You can show a recent negative test, or you can show prior infection. For the past 6 weeks, thousands of Swiss citizens have taken to the streets to protest the mandates, while police have shot off water cannons and rubber bullets. Amsterdam has seen widespread protests, with people carrying signs that read, "QR is going too far" and "Unvaccinated lives matter." Reports say some protesters were even displaying faux gallows. The Netherlands has implemented a COVID pass that restricts Dutch citizens from entering restaurants, bars, and other select indoor spaces unless they show their pass. And the Dutch government was going to require the pass for even outdoor dining terraces, but the pushback over the past couple of months has caused them to scrap those plans. Israel sparked widespread protest after the country announced their third booster shot is required for their Green Pass to be valid. In order to be considered fully vaccinated and allowed into most indoor venues, Israelis must show proof of 3 shots or show proof of 2 doses within the past 6 months. Once 6 months have passed from the second dose, a person must get the third or their pass becomes inactivated. France has been seeing nonstop protests for some time now, even before COVID, when yellow vests took to the streets every weekend for months on end. Now the protests are over vaccine mandates, which require people to show a COVID passport to enter any restaurants, cafes, other indoor venues, and even ride public transportation. Luxembourg citizens protested their version of a COVID pass in what they called a marche blanche, where protesters were dressed in all white, carrying white balloons. The new mandate, which takes effect November 1st, excludes the ability to test negative using a low-cost at-home test. Instead, citizens will be required to show either proof of vaccination or get tested professionally at a facility.
Because
The
that
pass
they
is
make money
necessary
off of
to enter
that.
any indoor venues, such as restaurants and bars. Thousands of Greek citizens have been taken to the streets for the past few months to protest the country's COVID passports and mandates. Some healthcare workers are required by law to be vaccinated, and Greek citizens who are fully
The thing
vaccinated are
is,
issued freedom
not all
passports,
these
which allow them
people are
unrestricted
protesting
access to
about the
anywhere they want
mandate.
to go.
It's
The Minister
more
of Health
to
said the
it
goal was to
than
protect the
that. But they're
vaccinated, but also
co-opting
to
it
protect the
that in that way.
unvaccinated, who are much more at risk. Romanians have
because
also
that's the sensitive
COVID
that's the
passports.
sensitive
Thousands of
conversation.
people took to the streets in a massive
Well, that's what they
display
want you
with
to
signs that
focus
read,
on. So you
"Freedom
can still
without
focus on
certificates."
COVID, even though the
Slovenians were
shit
met with
seemed to be
water cannons
over.
during their protests. Thousands of people are angry over their country's vaccine passports to enjoy a normal life. And Australia, well, Australia is a whole other story. I could do an entire segment on just what's been happening there.
Look at
But the
that
long
shit.
and short of it in regards to protests is people are not only targeted with water cannons and rubber bullets, but their police are actually beating them with batons, and they're being met with other violence. It's quite insane what's going on in Australia right now.
But this
But
is
here in
one
the
of the
United
reasons why
States,
they're
leave it
angry
to the New
about the
Yorkers to express
defunding of
their
police, is
outrage. The
because
city implemented
they
a
want to be
strict
able to
digital
use
COVID
them
passport
to be
system
able to
for those
control
fully
a lot
The
of
vaccinated and
people,
for
because
those who
they
have tested
know we finna
negative.
be rioting for
Unlike
the
the
next
countries
10
in
years
Europe,
if
New
they don't
York
fix
City will
this shit.
not accept proof of previous infection. People need to show the digital pass in order
This
to
is New
enjoy the,
York.
quote, spoils of the city, as Mayor Bill de Blasio put it. Essentially, if you want to enjoy any entertainment or dining in the city, you need to show the pass. So it's really interesting, all of these protests that have been going on around the world. We haven't
Oh,
really seen these.
hell no. We don't want their fucking opinion. What y'all think about it?
Curtis.
Stop screen. I think he froze up. We can't hear you. You mic? We can't hear you. Are you muted? You muted, bro. I can't hear you. Wait, I heard something. No, I can't hear you. You're muted. It's not muted on my end. It's on your end. Something wrong with your mic. I heard it make a noise a minute ago. What you think about all that, Pat?
Well, honestly, I mean, a lot of this stuff is that's that same controlled chaos that them creating that whole pass, this green pass thing, because a lot of people don't, I think that was a part of the infrastructure bill too, is this whole green thing that people may not have realized that's a part of. I don't know if it's actually been passed here like that now, but it's pretty much that whole controlled chaos. Like, they know what these things are going to lead to. I think this stuff is purposefully done because you know the ultimate thing is for them to move to that big idea of one world order type thing. So all these little things that they're doing right now is just they're trying to shuffle everybody into this thing, and a reason to even possibly harm you, because you're still fighting for rights that you truly deserve, but they're gonna be these habitual line steppers on your rights. I mean, that's pretty much what's happening. And I mean, you see thousands of people gathering all over, even European countries, you know what I'm saying, where there's not really so much of as much of a hoopla than we thought, but of course this is stuff that they've been smothering in the news so that, you know, everybody's not up in arms of what's really going on place to place. Like it's even happening in New York. It's a lot of this stuff is going on in different states. If I was to say, there's probably some stuff going on over in California too, you know, because those are some of the stiffest, you know, some of the places where it's
The rules are stiffer.
yeah,
That neoliberal ran states.
exactly.
Yeah, so I was gonna say something. Her fucking tone and her attitude on this shit. And if I would have played their commentary, they was gonna start talking about it, and it's like, you know, it's that authority ass attitude of like, why won't they just get in line? You know, why go get a job? Why you even have time to go protest? Go get a job. You know.
Well, one of the things is that because of them in the media, that, you know, is helping push along this agenda, they're kind of shuffled into the elitist group. So they're not going to be affected the same way as, you know, us, if you want, quote unquote, regular average Joe. They're not going to be affected the same way because they're part of the system. If without the media, a lot of this stuff doesn't work at all. Because they're able, you know, this is the whole propaganda thing is them being, you know, they're controlling your mind. That's where most of the programming, you know, begins, is, you know, the way that the perspectives in which they give you on all these, you know, no matter what we're dealing with, they're the ones on the front line telling you how you should see it.
If you're there, Curtis, just type your comments in the comment section, bro. I'll put them on the screen and stuff. I got another clip from Kim, this annoying ass chick. But again, this one, she had an interesting perspective that kind of made me look at the topic a little bit different. But still, her fucking attitude and the way she's coming at this is ugly. But we're not gonna watch it all, but I'm gonna show it. But it's important that the topic is very important because this is a part of that bill that I think that shit passed. Here, check it out.
More. I want to start off by saying it's a little unclear in reading the language whether or not it's individual transactions of $600 or more, or if it's an aggregate of all annual bank transactions with a gross total over $600.
Yeah,
but
right.
Really, everyone is included in either scenario. So Democrats claim that they're targeting the wealthy and they want to tax the rich. They say billionaires are not paying their fair share and they want to ensure they finally do. Currently, federal law requires people, not banks, to report to the IRS any transaction of $10,000 or more. But this new proposed measure would be more invasive, as it calls for our banks to do the reporting, not ourselves individually, and will subject nearly everyone to scrutiny and to the threats of audits. Essentially, we'd all be treated like tax evading criminals until we prove ourselves otherwise. Democrats continue to assert they're going after the ultra rich. But if that's the case, why such a low threshold of $600? An amount practically every American exceeds by simply paying their rent or mortgage. People are now up in arms accusing the Democrats of not actually targeting the rich, but instead targeting everyday Americans. When Nancy Pelosi was pressed on whether or not this proposal would remain in the reconciliation package, she said, yes, 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 yes.
So Americans are starting to be worried about this. Do you think that this pay for of giving the IRS more money to crack down on unpaid taxes is going to stay in the reconciliation bill? And what do you say to Americans who are concerned about that?
Yes. Well, I mean, with all due respect, the plural of anecdote is not data. I've said that before here. Yes, there are concerns that some people have, but if people are breaking the law and not paying their taxes, one way to track them is through the banking measure.
Well, many Americans are rightly worried about this measure. The IRS is one of the most feared federal agencies in the country, and giving these bureaucrats access to all of our bank account transactions totaling $600 is like government overreach in the least and spying at its worst. People are certainly worried about giving the IRS, an agency with a history of weaponizing its abilities, this much supercharged power. But Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the proposed measure is mischaracterized.
You want banks to report transactions of $600 or more. That's what the IRS wants. Does this mean that the government is trying to peek into our pocketbooks if you want to look at $600 transactions?
Absolutely not. I think this proposal has been seriously mischaracterized. The proposal involves no reporting of individual transactions of any individual.
So let's go ahead and break down what Janet Yellen is saying here. And you can watch that entire clip online. But she claims that the IRS is attempting to crack down on the opaque sources of income of billionaires, that average people receive a paycheck that is accurately reported with a W-2, and it's the unreported income that they're worried about. But the recent publication of the Pandora Papers shows us the ways billionaires are able to hide their wealth, and that's through playing elaborate shell games. They use tax havens and trusts and shift funds between global jurisdictions. Everything they do is legal. The disparity between the rich and the poor is the fact that they're wealthy and have access to what is dubbed the wealth defense industry, an army of tax attorneys, accountants, and wealth managers to help them legally evade the same level of taxation of the middle class.
That's the
So
thing.
who are they really targeting by requiring a reporting threshold of only $600? The answer seems pretty obvious to me. They're not going after the rich. They're targeting the little people, the under-the-table wage earners, contractors, small business owners, and pretty much anyone in the service industry and gig economy. You got a side hustle? Do they pay you in cash? Do you earn tips? Were you one of the thousands of personal care workers who figured out you could make money through some home visits when the salons were shuttered during the pandemic lockdowns? Have you kept some of those side clients going? Are you one of the millions who quit your job and started working for yourself in some way as a contractor? Are you one of the thousands of teachers with a low salary and a cash-paying side job to keep yourself afloat? Well, the gig economy has been growing for quite some time, but the pandemic perhaps made it accelerate faster. And now the IRS wants their cut. Any deposit or withdrawals that are $600 or more, which could be something as simple as paying rent or a mortgage or even paying off a credit card bill, and in some instances, student loans, will be subject to...
Okay, that's enough. I know it's hard. That's hard to watch. So, I don't know if she's making a good point, or she's just trying to, like the media does,
she's pandering.
Cover for the corporation so that they can co-opt this and make us feel like we're on their side, so that we can keep them from, having to pay taxes. Like that's one side of the argument. Or
she's pandering.
Yeah, pandering to us to get us to be co-opted with the corporations. But on the other hand, the story is still compelling because we don't trust the government. So it's like, and they don't care about they clearly don't care about getting the money from these big corporations because they haven't done it for a long ass time. So it's like, are they really just gonna try to pay for everything by taxing the regular folks who just doing little gig economy stuff, who moving money on Cash App? Because they watching Cash App a lot more now and shit like that.
Oh, I got to plug in my computer, but let me just put you up on a little game, because this is something I understand pretty well. My ex is an accountant, and like just certain things that you think that you don't need to, you wouldn't need to know, but something happens and it's just like, damn. But however, if they wanted to be able to get these ultra rich, these billionaires, and they're saying that everything they're doing is legal, well, yeah, of course it's legal. You made the law so that it benefits them.
Right.
If they wanted to really get to these people, it's just a matter of changing those laws. So that's not what their target is. I mean, it's clearly any like it's so clear. I mean, people who don't even understand taxes and all this, that, and the other can clearly see what this is. It's not hard to see at all. And of course, she's putting it out there. She's saying pretty much what it is. But the gig economy, like there's a lot of people who, I mean, because really what they want to get to is people's Bitcoin and like this crypto money that people been making on crypto and this, that, and the other. That's one of the other things they want to get, because if they transfer it into US dollars, let's just say they sell some of their Bitcoin to turn it into US dollars, it doesn't necessarily has to be taxed because it's not going through one of their corporations that will automatically take a cut for them. So that's a part of what that's for. So that $600 makes it where it's, I mean, there's nobody, unless you just don't have a job at all. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to get any drug dealers or anybody, because, if they're dealing with mainly cash, like most drug dealers don't have a bank account to, deposit their cocaine trades. You know what I'm saying? One of the things is to be able to find a way to be able to tax a lot of these people with crypto, with small investments, whether it's, in what they call like the digital real estate, a lot of different things that's happening online that, you might be able to somewhat hide in different ways. I mean, it has nothing to do with these billionaires, because, like I said, they're the ones who've created these different ways for them to be able to hide different funds and not get taxed. Because I mean, like the richest person in out in the world right now, Jeff Bezos, pretty much bragged on paying $0 in taxes,
Yep.
and
And he
and
just
he
went to space.
no, you
And
talking about Elon Musk, right? You thinking of Musk?
they both did.
Well, oh, he went. Okay, I don't know about all that. I didn't know that.
They both did, and that's like the thing is about like the society propelling this, like looking up to this. Every media story was like, "Oh, it's so cool," and it is kind of cool, whatever. But then it's like they trying to say each one of us could do that if we work hard. If you just work hard and then work harder, you could be like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk.
I done been there already. I done been to Mars. I done been to Venus. I've been there before all of them. I've already been there. So
I
you know what I'm
feel that.
saying. I'm just saying. I mean, you don't have to go there physically to be there.
I feel that.
But I mean, however, man, like this is. We fucked up.
That's what I was about to say. It's upper level fuckery, like upper level mind fuckery, like superior mind fuckery.
But no, like honestly, like to me, it's just like us. We like in a as a whole, not necessarily just as in the all individual, individually, but as a whole, allowing fear produced by the elites. The boogeyman is coming to get you,
Yeah,
and here they are. This is how much they think of you. Damn, they fell for that shit
yeah.
for the
That
50th
shit
time
worked again. They still
again.
haven't learned.
Again, that's and it's like, oh well, shit. Let's go for the gusto. Like
Run it
we,
again. Double down. Double
yeah,
down. Obviously, it keep working. They must want. They must like it. Let's give them some more. A matter of fact, let's turn the notch up a bit.
and that's the thing. Like, I mean, as many people that have, if we can call it a whistleblower, like people who have been seeing this for so long, trying to tell people of all the stuff that look, that because I know I'm one of them that saw a lot of this coming. You know, like in detail, maybe not, but as far as the lengths that they are willing to go to, and what the whole idea behind, like what they're trying to do, like y'all are setting. We're like this is setting we're setting ourselves up for failure because we can't see past. You
The
know,
weekend,
well, the weekend, but
lunch next week,
what? Well, no, I
tomorrow.
mean, because I mean, the closest thing, like in our political, the closest thing that I can bring up is like, for one, thinking that because Biden was, well, that was Obama's vice president. How bad could it be?
I know. So stupid. I was screaming that shit during the primaries. You know, I cover
And,
I
and,
cover politics really closely.
and nobody got upset that even when Hillary in the primaries when Hillary and Bernie was going against each other, and Bernie having a significant, like, what he was making way more
They
noise
fucked
than
him
Hillary.
twice.
Nobody got upset about that and just allowed this shit to happen. Like, how?
People are mad. That's what I say, because they feel like, a lot of people feel like their only voice is their vote. Their only way to make change is their vote. Certain politicians that they support and whatever the policies that particular politician is pushing is stuff that they feel is going to help their community, and they feel like their power is their vote. This is not everybody. These are just a certain segment of society. But then when you these are real people that these are intelligent people who understand a lot of stuff. But then when they look at it and then they be like, well, look, the dude I was voted, my vote didn't count for shit. My vote don't count for shit. The Electoral College, they fucked over Bernie Sanders. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? So
Because
niggas is, hey,
well, well,
you
and
can let's
obviously,
poking the bear again. Poking the bear.
Bernie must be, one of those possible, like, against their ascension in some kind of way. That he's not totally for the bullshit, because if he was one of, like, ready to go along with all of the other shit, it wouldn't have mattered if it was him or her.
And
You know
it
what I'm saying?
mattered.
But what I'm saying
They
is,
was willing to lose, and that's another thing I be saying about getting paid to lose. They knew the numbers. They knew the numbers. Sanders would have blew Trump out. They
oh
knew
yeah,
this,
with no doubt.
but they was willing to run the risk, because no way they'd rather have Trump win than Sanders win, even on the Democrat side.
Well,
That's how
because
much
see,
they hate him.
well, because I mean, like I said, he speaks of himself as a democratic socialist. So that's fearful for them, because if it's if socialism is done correctly, you still there, Chaka?
I'm here. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
well, no, I can hear you, but your video froze up. But if socialism is done with the right intent, it would be great. It could be great, but a lot of people, well, I ain't gonna say a lot of people, but some of these people who are in place, if they do any form of socialism, they'll want it to be more communistic.
Well, no, I think it just pushes against the whole idea of the profit model, and they don't want that to spread. Like, people don't even know what socialism is, and they want to keep it that way.
Well,
We're gonna
well,
argue about communism and all that, and people don't even know what it is. But like I say, because some person comes out talking about I'm a socialist, and then people are gonna have to learn what the hell that shit really is, and then they're gonna be like, wait, yeah, it shouldn't be profiting all of this shit. The people should benefit from their damn labor We should have fucking health care if we spending all this damn money for our fucking taxes.
Well, I mean, there's just certain inalienable rights that people have. Like, I mean, just for one group of people to benefit over another, just for you to eat, is fucking
Something is
ridiculous.
wrong. Something is wrong with that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, something is wrong with that, man. But that's the world we live in. It is.
And I can keep you from eating. I mean, I think pretty much everybody here has worked in restaurants or is working in restaurants or whatever. That like they throw away so much food that could be beneficial to somebody else, but just because they don't want give the idea that, oh well, we'll give this stuff away anyway, to that, like, it'll stop them from being able to make money off of their food. They'll just have to give it all away because, well, all I got to do is wait for them to close tonight and I can get some free food. Like they would totally just loot. Like they would rather all of that money, all that food go to waste.
And we throw away so much food. I'm gonna talk about that. I got a video about restaurants that I'm gonna play. But look, I got a text message. 40 countries have tried socialism system. They have failed. They have all failed. That's not true. That's all the way not true. There's lots of countries out there right now who are you could call socialist countries who are successful. It's most of the time when it's a country that didn't work out, it has to do with the natives, brown people, them sharing money throughout, everybody fairly in a country that has brown people or native people in it.
Yeah.
If it's a country that's mostly white, they're totally okay with the socialism. But if it's a country that has, especially natives, that's especially natives, no, they can't have the same stuff that we have. No, never.
Well, and that's I can see that being the biggest problem, because if you innately think that you are better than any other person, and you know what I'm saying, if you're in line to get your food and you like, well, damn, I should be able to have more than them because I am more than them. But when you have
Pat,
to look
man,
at it,
that kind of stuff starts with money, man. Like,
well,
you give a man money, you give him unlimited resources, the character, and this is a hard fact that I had to learn. It's not like I'm one of these shapeshifters or shit like that running around, but it's a hard fact that I had to learn. Once you accumulate, certain amounts and stuff like that, certain things have to change because everybody comes after you, bro. And it's just a simple fact. You'll find family members you didn't even know you had. So I'm not agreeing with what's happening, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah, no,
You know
I'm not
saying?
agreeing with
there's a
it.
reason for it.
Wait, Curtis. So you saying you agreeing with this? Basically, you're saying
no. I just said I don't agree with it. I literally just said I don't agree with it.
You're saying to pull yourself up by your bootstraps is the way to go, and the government giving away stuff to people is going to make them lazy because they got too many resources or something. What are you saying? Clear it up.
No, I'm saying, okay, the way things are, it's there for a reason, bro.
He's talking about the mindset. So he does agree.
Look, okay, so I guess I do agree. However y'all want to play it.
Just explain it. But explain what your point.
I already did.
Are you just describing? Are you just describing the mindset?
No, it's not. No, we don't have to describe the mindset. You can just say people in general. Not all idiots do it, but you do have stupid rich people. You know what I'm saying? You got dumb rich people.
I agree with that.
When the masses make them rich, but that's not, dude. What I'm saying is, like, that. I'm not saying that they're right. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But there's a reason. There's a reason. Like again, I'll say it again. The masses come after you.
Well, the
ones that remain rich were smart enough to cut certain ties.
So you believe that? But I mean, the hierarchy is a definite.
You can say I'm wrong.
No, I'm asking a question. So you believe that the hierarchy needs to exist?
Never said that.
So that's why we're trying to clear it up, because it sounds like you're saying everybody should try to make it and then move out of the damn hood. Don't ever come back and don't ever like look back and don't
Get
even
back.
talk to your relatives that's still there.
Yeah, because if you made it out, then you're the lucky ones. Don't be like, cause that's just kind of like the
That's
whole.
exactly how the damn hood is.
Well, no, but just, I
That's
mean that's kind of
exactly how
like
the damn
the
hood
high.
is. Well, yeah,
What's
that's how people
what's
be
the
feeling.
comedian's
And
name?
then
Steve Harvey.
they follow right behind that exact same damn pattern, man.
Well, look, that's
They
kind of like the
fall right in
mindset that
line
Steve
with it. Like,
Harvey.
oh well, maybe I can make it too. And you just sold yourself a pipe dream off of like 2%, bro. Like 1%. Shit, make it worse.
Well,
I don't
no, all right.
know.
Well,
I don't
look,
know.
like Steve Harvey said, is like the best thing you can do for a poor person is not be one of them.
Right.
Is that like that's pretty much the same thing that like you're saying.
And that's what the corporate world
I
says.
do not like Steve Harvey, bro. I do not like Steve Harvey.
But I'm talking about that whole idea, that mindset.
I know. Well,
I mean,
yeah,
I
get
know
that.
that I
Look,
did.
I
I know that I
understand what
position
he
myself
meant
in a
by that.
certain way. I know I position
That's
myself
one of
in a
those things
certain
that
way.
it can't be taken out of context. I understand what he meant by it. The best thing you can do for yourself is not being a poor person. Get to work.
No, the best thing you can
Get to
do
work,
for
bro. You got to work on yourself.
The best thing you can do for a poor person is not be one of them. Is his thing. Not that
work.
So you're agreeing. You're saying just work harder.
And I
so
just said I don't like Steve Harvey.
But so basically that is the thing. That's the thing the system likes to do. It likes to blame the victim. You know, these homeless people are a result of the system. I posted on Instagram how
we don't know, but that's not a fair analogy. Look, we need to compare apples and apples, because there's hardworking people who, you know, that works every day like you do. They
got
work
a coworker
every day just
right
like
now, bro. I got a coworker right now. He damn near just lost everything because he went through a divorce, man.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, let's compare apples to apples. Two hardworking people, and one of them just so happened to be lucky enough to get an opportunity that the other one didn't get, and you know they can supply. I mean, my dad, for instance, there was guys that lived in the neighborhood. They all worked at the same plant, but because of whatever they might have saw in my dad, they just liked him more, or he exemplified something that they liked, so he ended up in the management. When the whole company went under strike, a lot of them were out of jobs for 2 or 3 years, and he still had a job where he was in salary. Was he better than them? No, they were all buddies and friends. You know what I'm saying? But because
the hardest thing anybody, my personal opinion, the hardest thing any person can possibly learn is how to manage themselves. I'm sorry. A lot of people don't know how to manage themselves.
Well, and
we're not talking about being an adult and paying bills. We're talking about managing yourself.
That may be true, but at the same time, there's always going to be, somebody who has a little more.
Yeah, there's outside forces. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
but at the same time, it doesn't take any more to fill my stomach than it does the next person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so I mean, just because God gifted us with the direction that could help the whole crew, I'm supposed to just say, well, fuck it. They not smart enough to do this. Fuck y'all. Y'all starve. I'm gonna be all right. I don't think that's the mindset. I don't think that's the mindset that God wanted us to have.
I can use the Capitol as a better example. Remember when they swarmed the Capitol?
Yeah.
How they was climbing walls.
That's a new mark in history. January 6th.
Yeah, buddy. But you saw that.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about survival or money. We're talking about politics.
Okay.
So imagine when it gets down to money. Imagine when it gets down to that.
Okay.
When it gets down to that, oh, hell yeah, man. Like your mind would change. Your whole shit will change.
You sound like
if you don't know, like again, if you don't know how to manage yourself, your shit will change.
That sounds like The Walking Dead, bro. That sounds like The Walking Dead.
I was gonna go with World War Z. But I hadn't seen that movie yet. because they was climbing the goddamn buildings. It's fucking crazy. But I was gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna watch that movie tonight, bro.
Well, The Walking Dead, they don't really climb walls, but it's the same concept of like people get ugly when things are fucked up, you know, and in food they need to eat, you know. So I get that argument, but we live in the richest country in the richest world, you know, in the history of the world. I got a text. He said, "How many countries that you can name?" There's Sweden, Finland, Germany, motherfucking France, countries you think that aren't socialist countries are socialist countries. You got to go look at their programs. Their citizens get to have free this and free that all over the place, bro. Go look at that. Go look that up. The other thing was, thank God we live in America. You know, a lot of times people always have that argument of like, well, you be thankful you can even drink the same water as me, because before you couldn't even drink the same water. You know, you asking for reparations, and but now you can walk around and go get a job and make money. Before you were a slave. It's like we're not talking about that. We're talking about the reality of the systematic system of white supremacy and oppression of black people, exploitation of them historically, and there's never been no retribution for it, not even an apology for it.
Look,
let alone some damn reparations.
I'm gonna tell you this: like, I do believe in competition, but at the same time, not at the expense of other humans being able to eat or feed their family, and you know, or even just to be able to have good mental health. Like there's like all kinds of things that gets overlooked, and because they, you know, they come from a certain, you know, demographic. Well, we don't, you know, they don't necessarily have to care about them so much. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the demographic, we don't have to pinpoint one or the other, but just based on the basic idea, because you know, it doesn't. I don't think it has to be such a hierarchy to the point where, you know, I'm actually looking down on, because all right, let's just say I make 4 or 5 times more than, you know, my mother did, my father did, or whatever. Am I should I be looking down on them now? Like, oh, I mean, you know, you're beneath me because you didn't, because of a, you know, quantification of income, like a, you know, amount of money that I'm able to make. Now I'm better than the people who created me.
That's a good point you touched, though. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point you touched. And a lot of people have
that's what get lost in this individuality shit, and that's what I be talking about. And we really be helping each other all the time. Like I say, if your neighbor asks you for some sugar or some coffee, you don't mind. If you have it to spare, you don't mind. It's not a problem. You won't even think about it. But guess what? That's what socialism is. Okay? And you do it as a community, like church. Miss Sarah needs some money this month for whatever reason. She on hard times. Let's put the tithes to her this month so she could be all right.
I got something funny to add in on that, bro.
And look,
because Miss Sarah probably looked out for you as a kid.
Yeah.
When you were running around, your mom was going to work and is like, "Hey, I got some pie. I got some of this or that. Y'all come on over here and eat." But now she's old, she can't work anymore, and then that'll be the same as you being like, "Man, Miss Sarah used to have it together. What does she do?" It's like she just ain't, you know what I'm saying? She just don't have, like, she ain't got it no more. Like, oh my God, you know, like, look, I like
the conservatives. They're gonna be like, that's charity, like that's you're lazy or whatever. Right.
See, you get what I'm saying? You pick on conservatives so much. I don't know why. That's the first thing that you like. You try to trigger me with that bullshit instead of just saying like fucking human beings do this. Like liberals are honestly the
worst. Yeah, we gotta make it entertaining.
God damn.
This is fucking nuts.
But you
That's
get my point,
crazy.
right? You get what I'm saying? How the politically they come at this because they come at the same situation like because if the what's the difference between the government and the church as far as locally local governments doing that, you know, people always thinking about the federal government. The federal government is not the whole government. You got
Exactly.
local municipalities, you also got the counties, you know, and like I say, they all collect taxes because you got your federal taxes, you got your fucking the county taxes, then you got your state taxes, you got your damn city, and you might even have a little bitty ass something
Your
within the
your,
city.
your sales taxes or whatever,
Uh,
property taxes, whatever.
the
But
school
but
tax.
but if you really look at it, like, and this is, I mean, you can check the history on all of this. Like, there's a group of politicians that think that, like, they come up with these budgets that's supposed to cover certain things, that, and it's like this big expansive idea that's supposed to help everybody. But when, in hindsight, when you look back at it, it's like, well, damn, this shit never helped anybody. But everybody's aboard with this whole idea. Oh, well, yeah, this, the hope thing. And it's like, some of us can actually see, it's like, well, no, this don't even sound right. Like, this, we could do so much more with a lot less if we just do this, and we can incrementally grow. But you can talk down on them because you see, oh, well, they don't want to help nobody, they don't want to do this. No, they're actually somebody who's rationally looking at situations that, why do we have to go into 10 times the debt that we're already in order to hopefully change this thing that, typically in history, those type of ideas never work. Let's try to look at it this way. But
And what's crazy is the ideas of the way we collect taxes and they're supposed to be distributed is pretty much socialism anyways, and they're just not doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because we keep paying in and we don't get back what they say we're supposed to get. They're not using the money. It keeps getting used for other shit that we don't freaking approve of.
yeah,
Comment: the problem with socialism, it is lazy excuse to entitlement and the absence of hard work and responsibility. Everyone you know will live long enough, will die and witness it. Life isn't fair. The boogeyman in life is death. Man up. So what's your answer to that?
where's that from?
This is comments. I guess somebody watching the show.
Okay, that's not over here. That's somewhere else. All right, well, and that's a fair perspective, but at the same time, we have to realize there's people who are born autistic. There are people who are born that, maybe, like, their parents had mental health issues that they didn't grow in a way that they could have. So, I mean, what is wrong with our government providing things for people that, like, if we're all we the people, these funds that, you know some of these people, they end up with jobs and they paying the taxes, but they don't have any benefit outside of whatever they do themselves. If it's all, if everybody's for themselves, we really should just say, all right, look, let me pay myself these taxes to take care of myself. What's the point in me paying people to sit on a throne up in DC to do nothing for me, that, they are hired to do this job? Like, what's the point? Like, you really have to ask yourself, why do we have this government set up if it's not supposed to benefit us in any way? And if you're rich, you benefiting in many other ways. They subsidize you so you can have slave work. You can use these very people that are paying in for us to do the job, are paying, the job to take care or help in places that they can't, but we'll slickly figure out a way to get the money to the people who already have money.
And the question is where the money come from. The money come from the damn taxes, and then make people pay their fair share of taxes. We coddling these big corporations like they don't have to pay taxes. They claim that they're a person, so let the person pay fucking taxes like the rest of us. You
But
know,
no, but
and that dodging the money, and that's the reason why the budget isn't. We should have a surplus because they're just not collecting the taxes fairly. They collect it fairly from us, the regular folks, but they don't
no,
collect it fairly from them.
no, it's just not distributed fairly because see the thing is whoever it pays into taxes should benefit from whatever the taxes provide. So, if the rich are paying into it, yeah, they should be able to benefit from it too. But if Jeff Bezos and all these other ones can end up paying zero in taxes, okay, they don't, they found loopholes in order to be able to keep their money and do things for themselves. But the little people who they have the wage earners who they take it from their check before they can even see it, and
If
they actually they're actually paying into the taxes. They should be able to benefit from that tax money.
Cause if they're not paying no taxes, then I feel like they shouldn't get to use the roads, the bridges. You shouldn't be able to go to a fucking library. You shouldn't be able to go to the fucking park. How do you think that shit gets built? Why do you think that shit is there? That's socialism. Guess what? Ding, 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 ding. Parks are socialism.
Well, and I
There's
mean
no profit.
that's just one thing. But like I think it's very important for people to realize is that this is not supposed to be just just a give take. Like it should be a give. If you're giving into the government to to help like public things, like you should be able to benefit from it because I mean even these parks, if you want to just use parks, you still got to pay to go to the park even after you've paid for it to be put there with your tax dollars.
And look at this, what I got on the screen right here. It says hourly wage required to afford a 2-bedroom rental home. And it's showing the states. And the cheapest one is $10 an hour. I don't know what PR is. And from there it goes to Arizona at 15 and all the way up to California at 39. So basically, in none of these states could you be making anywhere close to minimum wage and be able to afford a 2-bedroom rental. None of the states. Okay. So that's really fucking simple. And I bet if you just looked at the minimum wage and see how many states that they could pay for a 1-bedroom, it'd still be a bunch of these states. And again, like going back to the homelessness, what I'm saying, how many people have roommates? These people are not lazy. If the company can't pay you a fair wage, a wage that can keep you be able to pay your bills, then that company should not exist. That's how I feel. If they can't make a profit and still pay their employees enough to be able to be alive and not be slaves, then that company should not exist.
Yeah.
And that
and
excuse of get a better job is so much bullshit that lets these motherfuckers off the hook.
But and exactly, and it's usually these somewhat entitled people who think that because they went to college and they was because they went to college and this, that, and the other, they got this good job. Well, all you got to do is go to college too. Well, first of all, that job that you have is not like everybody doesn't need to do that kind of job. There's jobs that's just average every day that's needed. Just as as people, I don't give a damn if you work at a damn restaurant. Like it's bullshit that they can pay you $2 an hour to be a waiter when legally the minimum wage is supposed to be what $7, $8 or some shit like that. No matter what it is, whether you get tips or not, like there's certain things that just that really came out of slavery. Like they didn't want to pay you in the first place, but you come be nice to my guests, and maybe they'll give you a tip. oh well, too bad. You know, just wait for the next one to be
And
better.
it's a way to
You know,
keep the classes in the same spots that they're born in. That's really what it's about. They don't want people to move around in the class structure. It needs to be what you, because if mommy and daddy wasn't able to take care of you into 25 years, all of these people talking about, even the ones that went to college, mommy and daddy probably paid for the shit. You know what I'm
well,
saying? College costs money. It's not fucking free. Not only that, remember that movie Pursuit of Happiness? He couldn't. He was like, I wasn't aware there wasn't a salary. It's like, this is an internship. You got to work here for a year or 2 years before you can even get paid. A lot of those really badass jobs are like that. Now, how many of motherfuckers you know can go a year or 2 years without getting paid and still be able to go to work every fucking day? You know, the only way you could do that is if you're already fucking comfortable. You know, you're
well,
already paid. Mommy and daddy is paying your bills or whatever the fuck.
and these are privileged people that's making millions of dollars that can even throw that kind of thing. Well, if you want to be a part of our crew, well, you're just gonna have to suffer through it for a year or 2 years or whatever it is.
And
Like, I mean,
that's a real thing because I have seen jobs, I've applied for jobs that were like that. Literally, they might be 6 months, it might be a year, it might just be a summer. But literally, you have to work for fucking free, and you're doing the actual job that you were going to be doing, and you're not getting paid at all. And they just want you to, they want to know that you're dedicated for knowledge, that you want to learn, you know, and it's all about that. You're willing to sacrifice a lot for the knowledge that you're going to gain, because that's how you get on, because you got the experience now. Because that's always the excuse. We can't hire you. It don't matter how much education you had. You don't know what the fuck we do in this company, bitch. You don't have no experience.
well, I mean, but the thing about, I mean, because like I used to be in sales, and you know that was just one of the things I was just automatically good with. You know, maybe it was from my younger years of selling weed or whatever. But however, I had the charisma that people just liked me, and I did well from the start. But you know, and that's like what it was with Pursuit of Happiness. You know, he had a certain personality. He had the gift of gab where he was able to, you know, get, you know, jump one of those big hurdles, you know, from the beginning. He was able to get the, you know, that big job that would pay or whatever, or he was able to hook up something, convince somebody for a meeting. But a lot of those jobs you can't pay for. Like that's just something that people are gonna have, and you can end up, just because you can talk good, you can end up making 100,000, 200,000 on something that you just learned within the first week or 2 weeks of being there. You just, like, I was in car sales. You know what I'm saying? I never made 100,000 in my life before that, and it's
And
just hard.
I met a guy who's really smart, and he told me he gets jobs and works there a couple of weeks, a month, just to learn the skill, and he goes and puts it to the stuff that he does on his own. And this dude then had a whole bunch of different jobs, and he knows how to do all this fucking shit. And it's because he goes and gets on a job just to learn that skill, and he puts it into his own. Look, let me read the comments. He said, people spend money on bullshit. That's why they are in the predicament they are, not because of a boogeyman keeps them down. He says college is free. It's called Pell Grants, and also they have student loans. They workforce solutions, and many other things. So,
well, hey, you know what? I appreciate that those sentiments, but at the same time, that's bullshit. Because like, if you got to think about, for the average person, if your parents work, meeting that threshold, like you have to almost be totally impoverished or almost impoverished to qualify for some of these grants, you know, or you know somebody who's going to push that grant through, so you know where you can be able to obtain that money, you know, either way. So you know, I know when I was going to college, getting a Pell Grant, and my mom didn't make a whole lot of money. My dad, you know, he didn't want to be involved in that anyway. If you get in school, you get in school, whatever, blah blah blah. But my mom, she was willing to help me, but she didn't make as much money as my dad. So, however, still didn't qualify to be able to get no Pell Grant. I qualified for loans. Guess what? You got to pay that shit back. You know what I'm saying? Regardless, which I didn't have a problem with that. I paid all my shit off. I'm debt free. Especially, like with as far as that's concerned, all my student loans I paid up. Some of these people who done been to college, shit, they don't even, what I'm saying, they're gonna be paying for the rest of their life. But and I don't even use any kind of degree for I'm a truck driver. So, you know what I'm saying? I've been to college. I know all the process and all that. And for you to talk about Pell Grants and this, that, and the other, yeah, you might qualify a year or two, or, you might get away with it for a while. But a lot of this stuff comes back to haunt you in a way that, man, you're going to cry for 30 years, a lot of them. But, you know, if it works for you, it works for you. I mean, I've never been mad at anybody. I've seen people where they going in there and they getting all these big lump sum cash, and some of them don't spend the money properly. I agree on some of that, but that's not the whole of everybody. You can't speak on everybody about that. That's very, very general.
Yeah.
But to blame everybody because of a thing that was constructed by our government, like the elites. I don't want to just say the government because the corporate structure has a lot to do with it too. But the allowances happened within our government. So for you to try to blame each individual person as if they don't want to work hard, or their chances of having a good life, they're not willing to work for it. It's a lot of times people give up because they feel like no matter what they do, they're not gonna be able to reap the benefits that they see other people reaping. You know, there's people that's worked hard for 30, 40 years, and shoot, they pretty much have to work until they die because they never could afford to, you know, corporate taking away pensions, and for you to have a retirement, they don't want to play any part in that. They'll hire some private contractor to keep from you being able to, you know, live your last few years in some form of comfort. Like, I mean, you got to really look at the structure and how all these things are working out before you start trying to talk about people. They just need to pull their self up by their bootstraps. It's just, I think that's very unfair. What you got for us, Chaka? Hello?
I can't hear him either.
My bad. My bad. My mic went out. I had to turn it back on and shit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, both of y'all pictures are frozen on my screen, so I don't know what's going on.
I got too much going on. Let me close some of my screens. A bunch of screens open. I was thinking about showing this shit, but
I didn't mean to ran off like that, but
yeah. So, well, that's the reason. What I was saying when y'all couldn't hear me is I was gonna play something else, a little more light, having to do with the restaurant business, but I'm gonna come back to that because I'm gonna keep your same energy. I'm gonna keep your same energy, and you gonna like this, but there's gonna be some people watching that aren't.
To an act of the General Assembly of Virginia passed on the 5th day of February 1808. All right, they made this book. This is volume 3 of William Waller Henning's Statutes at Large. But I wanted to go to page a little bit more down, 252 here. All right, because it's going to tell us straight up what they mean about who's mulatto. All right, you ready for this? So it says, and for clearing all manner of doubts which hereafter may happen to arise upon the construction of this act or any other act, who shall be accounted a mulatto. All right, so there's no confusion or disagreements or any things come up, any issues saying, hey, I'm not, who's mulatto? Then so they're gonna make it clear for you, all right, who they talking about when they're talking about mulatto. So it says, be it enacted and declared And it is hereby enacted and declared that the child of an Indian, all right, the child of an Indian and the child, grandchild, or great grandchild of a Negro. So they're separating. They're not saying, they're saying the child of an Indian and as well as a child or a grandchild, great grandchild of a Negro shall be deemed, accounted, held, and taken to be a mulatto. You've been classified as a mulatto. Indians and Negroes are the mulattoes. This is from 1705. They were making it clear. All right. So where's the Africans in all this? All right. So again, who is the mulatto? The child of an Indian and the child of a Negro. All right. They shall be deemed, accounted, held, and taken to be a mulatto. And it. All right. So what I have here is the original, what they say here, Virginia Health Bulletin from March 1924. All right. That's volume, 16, number 2. It says the New Virginia law to preserve racial integrity. This is written by W.A. Plecker. Remember, Walter Plecker. MD is the State Registrar of Vital Statistics, Richmond, Virginia. It says here, Senate Bill 219 to preserve racial integrity. Passed the House March 8th, 1924, and is now a law of the state. This bill aims at correcting a condition which only the more thoughtful people of Virginia know the existence of. The new law further provides for the registration of all persons who desire it, and who will make application for such registration of color and birth, remitting at the same time the fee of 25 cents for each applicant. Do not send stamps. These births will be permanently recorded and preserved for all time. You see that? For all time. Do not send stamps. Don't stamp it to that time, because these births will be permanently recorded and preserved for all time. They want you to be called black, Negro, colored, you know, everything else that is not you. And that's for all time. That was their plan. That was his plan. And it's still going, right? It's still working for all time. And will be a great value for many purposes, especially to take their land, such as to prove American citizenship when applying for passports to go abroad, and for establishing and preserving the family tree for future generations. He made it sound all good, right? That you're getting reclassified, paper genocide, for the purpose of establishing the true color of individuals for the future. Physicians and others who report births and marriages will, as far as possible, use color terms accurately. You see what they're saying? Even the lodges, these orders are going to help out with this, all the organizations and the schools, all right? So they can establish a true color, like a crayon color, like crayon, right? So the doctors, as soon as you're born, they're going to do it too, all right? They're going to make sure to have the color terms accurately put in these little forms. They're going to fill out for when you're born, all right? So it says a mulatto is the offspring of a white person and a Negro, all right? So dodge the hijack, right? So in 1924, that's when he's making that official, that a mulatto is what that means. That's what he's saying. But then who's white and who's Negro? All this is messed up. All these classifications, all right? Do you remember my video I did on the 16, this is in what, 1705, yeah, the black codes? Wow. So he's saying in 1924, right, a mulatto is the offspring of a white person and a Negro. All of a sudden, they included a white person, right? We didn't see that in 1705, and they didn't say anything about offsprings or mixtures when we read that vitals, the statutes at large from Virginia, from William Hennon, the official primary source. All right, they said that a mulatto is a child of an Indian, as well as a child of a Negro, grandchild, great grandchild. You know, like they didn't say nothing about that. If an Indian and a Negro having offspring, that is a monolith. They didn't say nothing about offspring, right? You didn't see any word that said offspring or say anything about mixture, right? But 1924, all of a sudden,
So I know that could be boring to everybody else, but that's not boring to you, huh, Pat?
Well, no, I mean, and I think I've heard this one before. Um, but I really don't know where to start with all that, because I mean, it's kind of hard to have that discussion with somebody, or I mean, of course, me and you can have this discussion, but like for the people, if they don't really have the full context of a lot of the different laws that existed, or even what kind of America that existed before, all of you know the changes that were made, it still wouldn't make a lot of sense to them. I don't think. I mean, they don't know anything about they think all black people came from Africa. Like, for them to even perceive the fact that we were always here, we didn't come from Africa. At least most of us didn't. Um, that it's like, what the hell are you talking about? They couldn't be talking about they couldn't be talking about native people that was so. To me, I don't know how much the people will benefit from it, but there's
Well, I
as
think
we
what's important about it is how, because like I always say, to understand what's happening now, you have to understand what happened before.
yeah,
So, and one of the things he pointed out on there, he said, "What is a white person and what is a Negro?"
exactly, because most people look at that as color. They don't see it's just a status. you know People, that's another part of it. Like, if you don't really understand that, like, you really just kind of speaking in the wind, because you know when you say white person, all they think of is somebody who's you know more closer to pink, or pale, or whatever.
And
Those are white
a
people.
lot of people don't know Egyptians check white when they come over here. There's a bunch of them. There's a South American, trying to think of who they are right now, and they click white. The people
Yeah,
from Spain, they click white.
I know, because I mean that's a part of the groups that because, like, the whole
And these people
Moorish,
have all different colors. Like I say, then
even Italians,
the Egyptians are pretty damn brown. How the hell?
at least the
Like,
real ones.
not white at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're dark. Like, some of them are dark. Like, they're like Ethiopians. Like, I mean, a lot of people from North and or Northeast Africa automatically come here as white people, and that doesn't matter what shade of skin your skin is.
A lot of
Be-
people do not know that, Pat.
I
A
know.
lot of people do not know that. I didn't know that for a long time, and I spoke with some actual real people who were skin tone like yours, who said, "Yeah, I'm white."
As far as their status, yeah.
Yeah.
There was actually this guy, I forget his name, but I remember George Bush was in office, and the guy came and he's like, "No, I'm black. Like, you can't take my heritage from me. I'm black." And he's like, "No, look, just put you're white," because, like, I think he was going to, he was a smart guy, but as far as him not really understanding that whole dynamic of how it works here in America, is he looked at himself, because his skin was dark, he's a black man. And I think he was trying to get a loan, like like a SBA loan or something that was for black people, but because he came here as an Egyptian, he didn't really qualify, because he has to consider, based on the laws, he would have to consider himself white. So it was a whole bunch of stuff. Like, he sued him. I mean, he didn't win, because I mean,
They don't give a fuck. They've already made these designations. And then when you know the history of this stuff, that's what makes it seem even more silly. Like, super silly. Somebody just made this up. Like, literally pulled it out their ass. Okay, you're this and you're that. You guys stand over there. You guys stand over there.
Well, I mean, it makes more sense when you kind of look at it more on an ancient, because this is it's really not a new dynamic, because I mean the people who ran the world were more darker skinned people, but because we mixed, we've always mixed in with different people, like the Italians. A lot of them have Negro
That's why
ancestry.
a lot of they have. There's a lot of racism to Italians, and that's because of the time when the Moors was and Spanish people too,
Yes,
and their skin tone. So if they're a little bit, especially if they're a little bit darker, because some of them are pretty dark. So yeah, there's racism towards them, because the people who know the history know that y'all was black a couple generations ago.
Yeah, or your great grandmother at the least was with a black man, and everybody, like you part Negro, or or whatever,
But
like.
again, that still stands up on that question that he asked in the video: what is Negro? What is white? And then,
I know.
like we just said, the Egyptians are white, and that's legal in the law. People, if y'all go look that up. So, what the hell designates white and black?
Well, see, and that's the
If it's
thing. I
not
mean,
skin tone,
the timelines always make a difference in how you characterize these words, because they, on a connotative, with connotative linguistics, you know, you have to put it in true context of how it was used then and how it's used now. So for them, like, I mean, the Negro part is, I guess, still is like used as a derogatory, expression, but they they pretty much wanted to take the power away from people who originally had the power. And if you continue, because I mean the government was made for white people, and you have to realize these were dark skinned white people who created our Constitution. These were what we consider black people, or who are now considered African Americans, who wrote the Constitution. It was adopted by George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Madison and all these other people who came in after the 1776 and all that. They adopted what already existed to use for what they were trying to make a government for themselves. You need to know that. So don't get it twisted that black people were the white people. It's all about the cloth. The white was more symbolic. It was a caste system even then, but it was more so, on elitism. If you were, white, they had, because white people were considered black. In my records, I know my great grandfather was a white man, but when he came here from Europe, they had him labeled as black. So it was twisted around. Like there's proof. Like I've seen the proof of it for myself. So I know that that's something that actually happened. When he came from Europe, he was considered black. So y'all.
so but the thing is about these racial categories are fairly new in history, actually. But the colors, I think what you're saying has to do with like their garments and whatnot, because a lot like purple, right? We get taught so much about European history. I get taught a lot about European history. So purple, purple, you could get killed for wearing purple because
that's more royalty colors or whatever.
Right. So if you wasn't royalty and you got caught with it could be anything. You could have bought something that's purple, but especially if you wore some purple, they would kill you.
But we're talking about in the 1800s. That that those color things mattered more so in our ancient, more ancient history. See, recently, because like I said, I mean, if you went from one country to it's kind of like the nationality thing that's going on now. But if you came from another country, You don't come into another country at the highest status. That's just that just didn't happen anywhere on the planet. You you may
Work
have
your
been
way
able to
up.
work your way up,
Yeah.
but you don't come in being the highest status like they do now. If you just
Because
have
you're an immigrant.
yeah. So this is something that's not, a new. It's not a new thing at all. But I
What I
mean,
mean is
what
the racial thing is new.
the racial thing is new because I mean you got to think about a lot of people that came from Europe in the 1500s, the 1600s, and all that was coming. A lot of them that actually had nobility were dark skinned people from Europe.
And they
Like
keep on
you gotta look at who the king and the queen was. I mean,
right.
during that time, the queen, Queen Charlotte was somebody might say she was mulatto, but she was a black woman, what
And
we
they
would
have
call today.
pictures. They have pictures. You can go look that up too.
Yeah.
So
So during those times, I mean, the whole identity, like if you fit into a certain class, okay, yeah,
it
that
was more about class than
yeah,
like it is now.
it
That's what
wasn't
I
just the skin
say.
color. Yeah,
It's
it wasn't
different.
about the skin color because I mean, they married white and black, like I mean, probably more so than they do today. Even then, because it didn't matter what your skin color
It
was,
was your class.
it was more so your class. So I mean,
I was
and
gonna
trying
say
to
something.
before you can even really get to like you have to explain so many things just to really be
Right.
able to get to
We
a
gotta
certain
give them a
point.
whole history,
It's
and that's what I was,
context.
and that's what I was gonna say. What I was gonna say about the present. But they keep on creating new fucking categories too. Because look, now they got this term they call Latinx. And I've been using it too because they've been using it so much. But Latinx, it's like uh Latin American, I think, or something, or Hispanic Black mixed with Native Black and Hispanic American. Like what I'm saying is they keep on creating these new damn uh identities basically, and then they force these people into them. The people didn't ask. I'm sure the Hispanic community didn't ask for another category. You know what I'm saying? to another box to put us in.
But what category of Latinos actually fit this box? Like, what do you have to be in order to consider yourself Latinx? Dark skin?
I see. I'm not even sure. Like I say, like I say, I don't even know. And this is the stuff I study, but because they keep coming up with these damn terms, bro, I don't really know. I think they're saying. I think it has to do with Native, Hispanic, and Black. I think
What
that's
is
what it is.
what? All right. What is Hispanic?
Like having some kind of lineage from a Latin country like Spain, or they would probably consider Mexico as a Latin country.
Okay, because of a language. See,
Based
that's
on
the
language.
part. That's the part that I try to get people to understand is that they call these people Latino. I was like, what descendant is a Latino? What demo? Because I mean, honestly, we make these different things up, and it makes sense to some of us.
But it really doesn't. I agree, because and then the more you think about it, the more it don't make sense, because
It's
these
your language. I could, if I start speaking Spanish, am
now
I
you're
now
Latin.
a Latino or
Yeah,
a
but
Hispanic?
you wouldn't be considered one, but everyone would think you was, or whatever. They would put you in that box. And so yeah, and then it's crazy the more you think about it, because all these dominant languages are all Latin inspired,
Well,
and branches of the Latin language. So
exactly.
then that's why I say again, that's where it
All
gets
of us can be Latino because I mean, most of these languages break off from
Latin.
Latin in one way or another.
Yeah, all the popular ones, the ones that all the European languages, all the
Yeah,
ones
I
we
mean,
speak.
unless you're speaking Arabic or Aramaic or any one of the dialects that which most languages have broken out from that, from Arabic, or
Aramaic or whatever it is.
yeah. So it's it's kind of foolish to name a group of people based on a language.
And then we talk about ethnicity, but that's still tied up in what we'll call it culture. But your culture is the language you speak. Well, how much of your culture is the language you speak?
Well,
And then these people, this is another part of this. It's not yours and mine for sure, without a doubt. English is not a native tongue for us.
no.
Without a doubt. Okay. So that's another part of it that we can't forget, that identifying ourselves. So these people who speak these Spanish, again, not their native tongue for sure, without a doubt. So they were colonized and forced to take on this language. And guess what? That language comes along with a culture. There's always a culture that's tied to a language. When we learn language in school, we have to learn about the culture, because that's like the reason why the words make sense and shit like that. I mean, it's hard for me to explain it. You
And
can't
that's the thing.
separate culture from language.
Well, because the culture actually comes like the dialect that is used, because a lot of the core, language, like if we're talking about Spanish, Mexicans speak Spanish, but it's not the same as maybe a Cuban, or maybe even somebody from South America, Venezuela, or like
right.
There's different dialect, and just what we would say, I guess, the slang that's used and how they've developed it. That's what makes the culture different, is by the way that the difference in which they used this Spanish language, or
But
this
they
Latin
still
language.
but all of them still have this base of that
Exactly.
Latin language
Yes.
to create their culture out of. So yes, there's going to be those little variances, but overall, because like the way you say something has a lot, like
The inflection.
we
Yeah.
teach in Spanish, they like some of the way we say something is like the book fell, and then like separating ourselves, like if we dropped it, instead of saying I dropped the book, it's like the book fell. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like saying it was the book's fault, kind of. And anybody out there that's listening to me know what I'm talking about that speaks Spanish, because in Spanish, the way you're gonna say that, or way you can say it, is like I say, the book fell, and that's how they would say it. So that is that leads to a way of thinking and culture. Also, with how some words are feminine and some words are masculine. You have to say it different. It gives a designation. Also in Spanish, you have the personal I that they say that we don't say in English, and they have to something that's a human. You have to give it a different designation than things that are not human. That's something we don't do in English. So what I'm saying is that those things like that are going to be roots in your culture, because it's in your language.
Yeah. No, and I get that. I mean, like we do it all day. I mean, with Ebonics.
Yep.
Which
and
is
so
a variation of English.
Because I would
even
say
it's a variation of American English at that, because some people would say that we don't talk proper English here in America.
There's some basic exceptions, but it's very few. And Haiti is one, because they were colonized, but their culture is not based on the colonization that happened to them. And a lot of them can speak Spanish, and what is the other one? French. And they speak their Creole, and which is like a whole their own language.
Well,
So
that's like in Louisiana. That's like in Louisiana. A lot of like the Creoles of Louisiana, it's a mixture of both French, Spanish, and
English,
and their slang, and even some English. Yeah.
And so that's the thing. That's them having their own language, and that's where them having their culture spawning from something that's not colonized, you know, and
but
it
that's
was roots from their original, you know, African roots or Carib roots or native
yeah.
roots, wherever it,
But
you
see,
know,
a
they
lot of
really was from.
that can be appreciated. But you know that's that's one subject. But when we start talking about descent, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, you can't use that because I mean, you know, honestly, like some people might get mad, but I mean, we can't even say that white people are totally different or totally not. I mean, if they came from us, they're part of us. They're, you know what I'm saying? Like, regardless
Without
of
a
what,
doubt.
yeah, whatever argument that we try to present, because I mean, a lot of
I
times
say that all
it's
the
this,
time.
it's
And
these, it's these people, like right from South America, Central America. I'm not them. That's not me. That's not no. They're not. They have these full out
no,
arguments out of
no,
anger.
you can't do that. And this is what I say, and this is one of the hard truth that needs a tall glass of water for black people to swallow. It's a hard one. I don't say it often, and I only talk to people who are, ready for this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, even the state of the world overall, and this nasty taste in my mouth,
Yeah,
even today, the state of the world that's in right now, we have to blame ourselves, and it's so many examples I can give you. Like, and this history, America. Who gave them motherfuckers America? The Moors gave them motherfuckers America. They wouldn't have been able to do this shit they did if they didn't have permission from some fucking body. Who
but
gave them permission?
our history says it. I mean, the history is there.
They,
Like
and black people, but look,
George.
black people, before you go into that, because I know you know what I'm talking about. Black
Yeah.
people think that, we are the good guys or some shit, or even some black people think that we're the victims or whatever. And I say all the time, we are on both sides of every conflict. And at the end of the day, the way things happen, usually it be behind one of us. Our decision that we made was the decision that made shit be like it is.
Yeah, I mean, because there was, I mean, out of all the things, because I mean, we did some fucked up shit as black people when we were in power, and we had a karma that was coming. And this is one thing that always, happens. There was a certain level of karma that's coming, but those who are wise might inflict the beginning of that karma, so we can get on through it and we can get back around to, where we really should be. You know what I'm saying? As
Because
people,
historically, niggas have done fucked up shit, and people like black people, we like to disregard that shit, and we focusing on the stuff the white folks did or whatever, and we totally forgetting about the shit that we did. Yes, slavery was fucked up, but that's really just kind of a fairly recent history that is, that's a thing that happened. But there was a whole lot of other things that has happened historically.
but I mean, but that's the thing. Who was enslaving who first? Because I mean, there's laws in South Carolina and different things where it was outlawing black, property owners to stop enslaving white people. Like, this it's on record. Like, you can look this up. So it probably happened in Virginia and these other places in different colonies, but this was something that was supposed to, kind of stop this whole, slavery bit. But because some of the black people who were in power was like, shit, fuck, who are you to tell me this my land?
I
I
saw
can do this how how I
I
want
saw a
to.
video where they had black conquistadors. Some of them came over with the Spanish, and that's another thing people don't understand about the Spanish people. And maybe it was
The
because,
Portuguese.
and the Portuguese was like that. It was different. The way they looked at shit was different from the British. And it was probably because of the Moors too. But they, like I say, black people could be conquistadors over there with them, right there next to them, over here conquering the natives. Right there
Well,
next to them.
and some of them were. I mean, I've seen some places. I mean, I haven't been able to totally validate it myself, but Columbus may have been a more like a dark skinned person.
Either way,
Like
that was a lost ass whole ass nigga. But I know that there was black folks that was on their team. We know it was black people with
I'm,
Columbus. We know
but I mean,
that.
but think
It was at
about
least
this.
one black guy on the ship.
But look, think about this. King James. What was his name? What was his what you know?
And then, but again, that's the thing about history, though, because actually, the further you go back, the browner everybody gets.
Exactly. And like even like George Washington, like, you know, the whole knocking down the cherry tree, I mean, that was symbolic, but he's looking at chopping down the cherry tree as that red and green flag that belonged to his father, that, you know, because he would have been considered a mulatto, really, because his mother was white, his father was black, because that he was not being handed any kind of, you know, like, you know, his father, the richest people on the land, they're going around impregnating people everywhere, and, you know, because he's somewhat considered a bastard, he doesn't get any type of you know, hand me downs. So that's where a lot of the anger came from, was that, you know, I don't have a land, I don't have any kind of anything that's being handed down to me because of the way you handled your business. You know what I'm saying? But nobody really talks about that part. But, you know, when we really go to like what you were saying earlier, like George Washington was appointed as the president. So this was by Sidi Muhammad. Somebody the you know, he was the um shoot.
The people just got to have common sense and think about how the hell could these lost ass pilgrim ass motherfuckers who don't even know how to fucking make corn, how, and then basically, and then how the hell did they beat the British? How the fuck? Like, America, we got this idea that it's America. They're so fucking badass. You
But
know, there's
no, but
no fucking way.
how is it when they were fighting the British, the only thing they could see in the dark was the eyes? Because they were some dark motherfuckers too.
And like I say, we was on both sides, and we're always on both sides. We're very tribal and always been. So we don't like them niggas on the other side. And that's another thing that I be trying to get people to understand about us. That ain't gonna never go away, because at the end of the day, you know, let's say you do take race completely away, you take it completely away. Everybody is niggas, right? But we are naturally tribal, and we automatically gonna be like, I don't like them niggas on the other side. Them niggas over there, them north side niggas, fuck them. You get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and I'm laughing, but that becomes really, really serious, and
Well,
that's how we end up with, you know, us on both sides.
look. Let me just let me make make it kind of, it'll be ridiculous, but a lot of like it could be something as simple as, man, they got way more pecan trees on their side, and I like pecans. I want
Exactly.
some. I want some of them damn pecans.
I've been wanting some pecan pie. I've been dreaming about pecan pie. And on our
Uh,
side, we don't have enough pecans to make some pecan pie.
we need at least 5 acres of that land over there, because that's where the pecans at.
And my family like pecan pie, and I want them to have some too.
Yeah,
So yeah,
but
fuck them niggas on the other side.
it could be as silly as that. I mean, because if you, I mean, if you
Yeah,
think about it, like we still have the whole tribalism thing going on, even
we
like
always have it.
in neighborhoods.
We always
where
have it.
people are still fighting over
And
freaking
that's one thing that
corners.
people don't really understand. That tribal thing ain't never going to go away. The violence that you see in the hood is mostly from poverty. People not having enough,
Well,
trying to eat
yeah,
to live. But the tribal shit ain't going to never go away. So we're going to be warring with them niggas on the other side forever. Forever.
well,
You go back
what?
to Africa, go back to early Native Americans.
Oh
The
God.
Native Americans, their territories ebbed and flowed, and that's how it would happen. Is one again, and they would steal each other's women. Shit like that was very common too. Like that, and that was really old traditions that they did. And so like that was it. It's tribal, even though
But that's in a war. That's in a war.
no,
Like
this is just it don't have to necessarily be a war because it's these those are the niggas on the other side. They are they have a different territory. And sometimes the territory, like I said, ebbs and flows because war is forever. War is forever because those territories ebb and flow. They really peaceful most of the time. That's what y'all have to understand. It's not that they're actually fighting literally all the time, but any day war lands on your lap because, like you say, it might have been about some pecans. Today is the day, bro. I want my damn pecans today, and war is on. And I'm finna go get me some damn pecans because we also respect humans to a certain extent. We know that niggas ain't gonna just give us the pecans. So we finna come in guns blazing, and the biggest nigga in the crowd, we going after that nigga first. You know what I'm saying? And we finna go get these pecans, but we might not make it because the way the natives everybody was gangster. So if them niggas come trying to take your pecans, nigga, don't let you better not let nobody take your cornbread.
But I think
Nigga, I die for my
think that's
cornbread.
with a certain. I think that's with of course, with certain mindsets, there are some that they just don't like you and they want to fight you, and they like that whole pecan thing just came out. Okay, well, I can use the pecans as a reason why I don't like these people.
Yeah.
But at the
But
same
really,
time, it's kind of like you could actually negotiate. Hey, man, look, I wanted to get some of those pecans. What do I have that you want to trade so I can get some of these pecans?
Right.
You know what I'm
but
saying?
they don't want to do that. They like, nah, we're not finna negotiate with them niggas. That's them niggas on the other side. We don't like the way they walk. They walk funny. They got it'll be something stupid like that. It'll be like they don't wear their head wrap right. They they be wearing their hair all down around their shoulders and shit. It's daytime. Their hair's supposed to be up. I don't like them niggas. No, we're not negotiating with them.
Yeah. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Exactly.
we don't negotiate with pecan hoarders.
And that's what it is, though. But I want people to understand the gist of this. We're making fun of it, but the gist of it is Black people gotta accept the reality that first off, the original man. If you want to keep calling yourself the original man, then you need to realize that the rest of these people on the planet is your child.
Came from you.
Those are you birthed them. So if you want to say you the original man and these people over here wilding out, guess what? That's your child. You birthed them. You created them. You must have did something wrong. Your child is wilding the fuck out. What did you do? It had to be your fault. At the end of the day,
you have to take some responsibility.
At the end of the day, if you want to call yourself the original man, then you need to accept the responsibility that all of this shit is your fault.
Yep. The book got to stop with you at some point. Like it's, not to say that you don't try to do what you can to fix it, but at the same time, you got to realize that you are at least a part of the problem. At the very least, if it's not all your fault.
And if anybody's gonna bring the planet back into order, it's gonna be people of color. Can there be any doubt or argument to that? Again, if you call yourself the original man, then, and this is what kills me about Black people, they give these white people way way too much fucking credit. Oh my fucking god!
Say, but one of the worst things, like the thing that I hate the most, it was when somebody says these white man laws. Dude, you created the idea of a law. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole idea of a law, and and then the structure of these laws in this country, pretty much all around the world, but especially in this country, your ancestors created them. They
It's I
wrote
think it's
all of
because
them.
they, the propaganda we get every day, where it's like the first black man did this, the first black woman who did this. Every time I see a headline like that, I
I've
want to
seen it.
fucking throw up. It
Yeah,
makes me want to fucking vomit. And I think that shit is part of the brainwashing that got the black people all thinking that like white people. And then I want to talk about this in my class. I'm gonna bring this up because it's been fucking with me. But when I write papers, this is just the way academia works. You have to give your sources. You have to cite your sources.
yeah, of course,
And the author's name, the name of what it is, and then whenever you're using excerpts, you have to put the quotation marks. This is
the
very
reference.
serious in academia.
No, I
And
know.
and so, but the thing is, when you're writing your paper, you have to back up your point with a citation from a respectable academic person. But
Primary
look,
sources, maybe a secondary source, but
but
something
guess
definitely
what?
reliable. Yeah.
Guess what? These reliable sources are almost always who? A white man. Once you go back,
When
because
you
you are getting a source from the source from the source from the source. These only approved academic people was these white men. And it's like when you in college, in my university or whatever, in academia, when you study something, when you study, like if you study music, guess what you're gonna be learning? Beethoven, Bach, and them. Guess what they are? White men. If you study in philosophy, guess who you learning? Uh what's the nigga
Beethoven,
name?
Beethoven was black.
Oh man, you trying to you dodging my point.
I'm sorry, because I mean when I hear
I
that, I'm just like, all right, but go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize. But
yeah, but basically all the different wherever academic whatever is approved, even in science, it's the same. The science as cult.
but
The
that's in recent history, and I
the
know that to be true. I know what you're saying is totally true. Is that's who they're making, you know, what primary sources are. But that's just here in America, because I mean, a lot of other countries that's not the case. Like I mean, you can go to Europe. I mean, even in Europe, you think as white as it might be, I mean, shoot, the museums, the libraries, like a lot of those places are still holding up the actual people. Like they have books. Like I mean, the Virgin Mary is black as hell.
Yeah, I've seen those pictures, but like I say, when I'm speaking of academia, I can only speak from American. I don't know how they
Well,
do it
yeah,
in other countries,
but that I
but
mean, but that's one of the reasons why Darwinism lasted for so long. The whole
and
idea, like the
exactly, that's another example. And
yeah,
even to this day, and like I was gonna say, psychology. What's that nigga name? Freud. And
exact,
and anything in evolution is going to go back to the dude you just said. That's what
yeah.
I mean. And if you have to support your argument with stuff that they said. And so
Um,
that means in the future, when people cite your work, guess what? It's still gonna go back to that white man, what that white man said. And
yeah.
that's again going with what I said, when it makes me want to vomit when every time I see them say the first time a black person did something, and it goes back to the idea of black people thinking that white people did everything that matters in history, and black people just now started doing some shit.
Well, and you got to think about it, like the power structure is like the people who was in power during that time is who made them be the most qualified or the most respected word that was going out, because during the same time as Darwinism, there was another guy. I I can't recall his name right now, but Karomi or Koromu or whatever. I forget how to pronounce his name, but the audio we listened to a little while ago, he quotes that guy a lot because, like, during the same time as Darwinism, he was telling people, no, Africa is not the, you know, beginning of all life, because of the findings that he found here in America, that is more likely South America had higher civilization than anywhere else that they had studied. And but they chose to go with Darwinism because they wanted, that it was more based on that racist idea to say that, all people came from Africa, originated from Africa. So that would put us, if we were the original people, that we all had to come from Africa, which would take us away from any kind of ownership or, being able to take a stake in America. It was all a part of the plan. So, we got to really be careful about that too, as far as truly considering all of that a primary source. But I understand what you're saying as far as, what you're doing in school and how it's come to this point where that is what we consider you know a primary source.
It pisses me the fuck off. Can you
It's
hear me?
crazy. Yeah.
My thing is acting crazy. I'm gonna refresh my page so you can just talk to the people or whatever.
All right. Yeah, man. I mean, we got to be a lot more responsible, and we may have to make extra steps to realize, to see things a little deeper. We can't just read stuff just on the surface. Just like what they tell us to do with our Bible. You don't just read the Bible, you got to study it. And there's certain things that's within the text, of any book, that will open your eyes to different things. You might have to read one book, 3, 4 times to really get a full understanding or the perspective in which, like, to almost be able to stand in the shoes of the person who's writing it, you know, to get the full concept, the conceptual ideas, like, for you to truly understand what they're trying to get you to understand. You gotta truly study that stuff. And, like, there's books that I've read that I'm going through it again, and I'm like really seeing how, like, stuff that I missed. And of course, like, I'm having personal growth, between the times of, like, the last time I read it, or, went to look for certain things, specific things in the book, and I'm able to get new things out of it, or at least a new sight or understanding. So, it's really important, especially going into history, because everything has got to be put into context. Like, you can't forget the time. Like, the timeline is so important. What was actually happening? Because, like, when I was studying all this Moorish science, the Moorish, the Moorish, yeah, I guess you just say Moorish science. It's teaching you that you have to, law and history go together. So whatever kind of laws that was in place or that they were implementing during those times will tell you a lot about, what was going on historically, and to have a better understanding of what was happening during that time. Just like right now, the things that we're seeing right now, to put it in full context, if we don't put into the understanding about COVID, Corona, the Jabberwocky and all these different things, like, our kids, our grandkids won't really understand fully what was happening during the time that we're living in right now. So we just gotta that we gotta study, like, we gotta stay in touch, because everything that's happened in the past, we're somewhat reliving it in different ways. Um, it's just that really we're in a position where it doesn't have to be as bad as it potentially can be. We got to get up and do stuff and really set a mark that these people who are in office that's trying to have this world domination, we need to interchange these people more often, and that's my opinion of it. Well, we don't need to let any of these people be in one office for 2 and 3 decades to be able to develop the type of power that they have now. Like, that's truly insane. There's no way that we should allow people to be in there so long to where things that they are implementing. Wait a minute, Chaka.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I don't know. I just got a message saying that my browser has lost connection.
Your picture is gone. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Let's see.
I got a video to play too. Hopefully, I don't put you to sleep while you try to get it together. Let me play this.
Today, we're talking about why restaurant workers are not running back to their jobs and some of the issues within their industry. Here's the clip.
And it makes complete sense that restaurant workers are looking for better jobs, right? Because these are tough jobs. They're on their feet all day. They take care of everyone. They pretend not to hear when you guys are breaking up at the table. And after all of that, they have to rely on tips. I mean, you know a job isn't paying enough when every meal ends with a mini GoFundMe.
Later, we're going to be joined by 2 Daily Show staffers who help bring this segment to light on the show. But first, it's my pleasure to welcome Padma Lakshmi onto the program. And
there's a lot of stuff in here that's good. I don't know what all I'm gonna play.
Anybody knows what chefs and
I watched this whole thing. It's 40 minutes.
It's Padma. She's the creator and host of Hulu's Taste the Nation. She's the host and executive producer of
Just think a lot
Chef.
like
that's an Emmy-winning program, by the way.
She's
also
the
most recently
restaurant.
a published children's author. Tomatoes
food,
for Nina.
ambiance,
We're going to talk to her a
how
little bit
people
about that.
feel.
She's also a best-selling author. You know,
and the restaurant don't even pay them. They're paid by the patrons that come in there to eat their food.
The Encyclopedia of Spices and Herbs. Padma, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for going beyond the scenes with me. I hope I didn't share too much in the introduction, but I think it's important for people to know that you're not just hosting and executive producing and creating opportunities for marginalized communities, but also you do a dope-ass comedy show, benefit fundraiser.
She's very impressive in 1,000 ways. That's another reason why I wanted to play this video.
Children's books and
I don't see any video. I can hear it, but I don't see it.
Thank you.
Oh, you can't see it?
I love having you on our comedy show. You are always one of the highlights, even for the digital one, which, it was a hit and miss and everybody was like trying to do something good. Yours was so fucking funny. I laughed my ass off. I was like, thank God for Roy Wood Jr., who
I don't want to fuck it up. I'm
gonna
just listen. She's
cute
though.
I'm privileged to have you on my little comedy show, sir.
And I'm going to play that snippet back for my mother, who always has critiques for my jokes. She loves Taste the Nation. And now on this particular episode, we're talking about, the way COVID has kind of really torn apart a lot of the restaurant industry, and the workers that are still there are dealing with all types of wage issues, mistreatment from customers. You are someone that is often in conversation with a lot of chefs that run these types of establishments. In your opinion, right now, what are some of the bigger issues facing the restaurant industry?
I think labor is a huge issue. It's not as easy as people think to make a profit in the restaurant business.
Yes, that is what we're talking about.
Times the margins are incredibly low, and most restaurants are paying the invoices from 45 days ago with the money they're making this week. And so you can see how almost instantaneously a restaurant would be behind if they didn't have deep pockets or really great investors who could afford to float them, because all you have to do is be shut down for a week or two in order to be in debt. And what people don't understand is that in order to offer you a menu of even just 10 items and 5 appetizers and 3 desserts, which doesn't seem like a lot, right? They have to have all those groceries ready so that when you decide between the filet mignon and the chicken fricassee, they don't know what you're going to pick. They have to have everything ready to make all of those things. And those things are perishable. So there are so many material costs aside from the fixed costs of restaurants just to run in a positive
and restaurants
thriving
are
economy.
on
One
the
of the reasons
edge
is because,
business, but that's the business model of
the
them.
labor system in restaurants is really messed up. First of all, it's manual labor.
Yes.
It's very grueling work, whether you're a server on the floor or you're a dishwasher or you are a sous chef or just a line cook. All of it is difficult. The hours are terrible, which is another reason, not the only reason, that it really discourages women from taking leadership positions. It's hard to have a family and be in the restaurant business. I do believe that restaurants will have to rethink how they do business.
Yes.
A few years ago, Danny Meyer tried to
They just need to
raise his
change the
prices
model.
a little bit in order not to have the whole tipping situation. And people really resisted that from both sides of the restaurant, both the customers as well as some of the wait staff, because not everybody shares their tips and things like that. So it's really, really hard. And beyond the restaurant
I agree
industry
with
right
you.
now, what I am hearing is that everybody is having trouble finding help because nobody is really willing to put themselves on the line for mere handful of dollars an hour if they're lucky. You can't get by on that. You can't buy a sandwich at the same place you're hawking sandwiches, with what you get paid. I mean, I know it's not just restaurants, it's even fast casual places that are serving ice cream or boba, these kind of high turnover places where, in the summer they were able to get by with teenage help.
There's so much. The other thing that I think that people forget about with this job is that food service, to a large degree, it was already, in my opinion, on the border. And I was a server for 4 or 5 years, Golden Corral, Shoney's, hello, Baskin Robbins as well. But it was already borderlining on being thankless. And now it is for sure a thankless job. And I've seen, you've seen the stuff on social media with the owners basically putting signs in the window at their establishments. Hey, before you come in here, just know we're short staffed, shut your mouth, we're doing the best we can.
A lot of places are
how are restaurant
struggling
owners
to
able
find
to balance
workers,
being fair and equitable to their employees while at the same time trying to meet the customer's needs?
I think what's going on also is that the whole economy is down and a lot of people are out of work, so they don't have as much disposable income to go out to eat. And then when they do go out to eat, they want more than ever. They always did, but now they want even more value for their dollar.
Right.
So, they want the cheapest pizza, the biggest size, the most amount of toppings, and they want it all with a smile, and they want it fast. Americans are conditioned
take
to
that
want,
$1.99,
especially their food
and
items.
shove
It's
that
really
up your
weird.
ass.
They're not willing to pay more for quality food.
Wait,
You gotta
this is
realize
the part.
Want it fast.
Milk.
Give it to me.
And they want it fast. They want it cheap. Milk needs to be much more than it is.
Listen.
Otherwise, you're going to get all this milk with all these antibiotics and this factory farming. The customer decides. And I always try and educate people who don't understand the food business to say, really, do you want that extra $1.50 off of your pizza if you know that the person making that pizza can't even send his kid to the doctor? Like, you don't want that. Come on now, pay a couple more dollars for your food. Like, your body is precious. You want to put good food in it.
Yeah.
I really wish
What you
there,
think about
there
that?
was a
I
larger
agree.
conversation in this country just about portion size. Like, I'm at a point now where if you send me too much food, I get annoyed. I'm like, who is eating this much of, like, it's more for the show and the presentation of it, but I'm still going
They
to
say
take
they're
some of this
paying them
home and
more
probably not
money
even eat
and
it
they
there.
still
Like, I
can't
think
find
the average person
employees.
who's never worked food service doesn't understand everything that you've articulated thus far. How do we get people to better understand the inner workings of the economics of all of this? Like, are members of the culinary community, are they speaking out about this? Like, how do we get more people to, because they kind of understand it with nurses and doctors. I think they, we went outside and clapped for them at 7:00. Remember the good old days of being kind and polite?
Yes,
But
I do. Yes, I do. It wasn't that long ago.
how do we build that same bridge?
It's hard. I mean, I think one of the things you have to do is you have to follow around a couple of servers, at different levels of restaurants, at the top tier, at a family owned restaurant, at a chain restaurant, at, one of these Michelin starred restaurants, and really spend a day in the life of a kitchen and a server in a professional food establishment to really know, and to film all of the food waste. Like when all those plates come back.
Yeah, we throw away a
from
lot
the dining
of
room,
food
you should just look
all
at
day.
them.
That's all I
And
do
you
all
should
day.
look at
Half
them
of
when
my
they go
job
out. You should look
is
at them
just
when you
throwing
just
food
have the
away.
camera pan in and out. You guys should do it on the Daily Show. It's crazy how much food wasted there is,
Two questions before we go to the break. Number one, let's talk a little bit about women's equity in the restaurant industry. And,
Okay, we could talk about it a bit, and then I want to play the beginning of the second segment of this because they go into how like everyone should probably be a server, at least like a
At some
year out of the
at
at
some
some
point,
point.
yeah, maybe even as in high school. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
as a part of their education, so they can understand how people really are, and
But
maybe learn some manners.
I think as an appreciation of what people are going through who are in that field, that's working in these restaurants, what they go through. Because even shit, we talking about the server for the most part. Well, just think about the guy back there washing the dishes.
Yeah, everybody in
And
there.
I've been that guy, and believe me, I didn't like it at all.
So yeah, what do you think about the comments? The guy said point blank reason is because people have realizing that they're making $8, $9, $10 an hour is just isn't worth it. With rising cost of living, the rising cost of food, drastic rising cost of rent. Yeah, this fucking rent is totally out of control. No one wants to, low paying wages. And you know what's crazy about that is because what I was saying earlier is the argument people always say is get a better job. You're like, get a better job. So let's say everybody takes your advice. So who the hell is finna work at McDonald's?
Well,
how you gonna get your fries? How you gonna get your shake?
Well, and see, and that's the thing. You can go with that mindset, and like I said, it's going to fall off somewhere because, for one, if we look at because that's one of the arguments we were saying earlier. Everybody, everybody's worth is still somewhat, relatively the same. Like we're all human beings at the end of the day, so we should all be able to make enough money for us to be able to. You don't have to be no lush, fancy apartment or house or whatever, but we should have somewhere we should be able to pay for a decent place to live, be able to feed ourselves, and if we have kids or whatever,
And
we have
if the company can't do that, then they
they
need to
should.
rearrange. They shouldn't exist. They need to rearrange the way that they do business. Period. They want to send all the profits to the investors. Oh, the investors, the poor investors. We have to make sure they're getting their maximum return on their
But at the same,
investment.
but at the core, I mean, if you forget the people who actually makes that whole thing work, regardless if it's a high turnover business or not, I mean, you still need to care about the well being of those people. Because I mean, if you make it to where these people will at least see this as a decent job that they're not pulling their hair out at the end of the day, it can at least like if they're because most people, if they're not thinking about, well, damn, I still won't be able to pay this bill and that bill, be spending all this time at this one place. Of course, your mind is going to wander to, okay, what else can I do, or what could I be doing other than this? So if you want your business to revolve properly and be more consistent, you need to be able to pay these people a fair wage so that their minds aren't all over the place about where they stand in life. You know what I'm saying? But that's, of course, that separation that a lot of the people at the top don't realize, because most of them have salaries, and that salary usually is enough for them to take care of certain bills, to where the wage workers, the people that you can tell to go home at, they're working from 2 to 10, but because it's slow, they sending you home at 5 or 6, and
Exactly.
half your hours is
Right.
taken up from week to week, and
And
it's
you
kind
didn't
of
even
like,
do nothing wrong. What did you do wrong? And it's like you was being punished, because you're definitely getting punished.
yeah,
Because you might not be able to pay your rent this month, or you might be
exactly.
eating noodles.
Exactly, and they might have been eating noodles anyway because of what they're getting paid, just to be, because a lot of there's grown people who should be able to have a balanced meal that's still doing ramen just to keep
Because
their budget
ramen, you can get 4 packs for a
a
dollar and
dollar.
some change. So
Yeah,
yeah, and you be hungry, so you got to eat something, and you just
yeah,
make it work. You just got to find a way to make it work till you get paid again. But what's crazy is after you get paid, then you pay all your bills, and then you back to ramen again.
exactly. And I don't think they realize, because I mean everything is about balance. And if you in a business and you lean too much one side of the business means more to you than the other, then like you're not gonna end up with consistency. I mean, I'm gonna tell you one of the companies, and I don't know how, I think they do pretty well, but I think Papados has a way, like everything kind of balances out. I think even the waiters and waitresses, the servers do pretty well. Like I've
Well,
seen, huh?
some restaurants you make a lot of money. I wouldn't say Papados is one of them, but more upscale, really nice restaurants. But the setup is totally different for them. Um, Damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, some restaurants, some waiters make over 100 a year in some restaurants. That's
That's
not
for
that's
servers,
that,
but I'm
and that's not uncommon either here in Houston. It's not.
no.
Uh, um, Damn it! But what I was gonna say. Damn, what did you say before that? I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well, I was talking about Papados, but you were saying there was other restaurants that might be on a higher scale, because Papados is not like really the top tier restaurant, but as far as the consistency that
Oh,
happens there.
Chick-fil-A. That's what I was gonna say.
Oh,
Yes,
what?
there are places that do it in a way where the people make enough money and the service is good and everything. Chick-fil-A is a perfect example of that. Chick-fil-A pay their employees. That's a good place to work.
Exactly, and
And,
that's
and look
that's
how
that's
good
more,
the
and it's
service
just
is.
chicken, and it's just chicken.
And look how successful they are, and look how good the service is there. And
But
people
but you
are,
you
they're
know,
always smiling. They don't
but you
look
got
like, you go to McDonald's, they mugging. You go to Jack in the Box, they mugging because they not
you
having
go
a
to
good day.
you go
They
to
never
pop
having a good day.
you go to Popeyes, because see, that's like, I think Chick-fil-A and Popeyes is a good contrast, conversation, because they're mainly just chicken.
And Popeyes
And
might throw your bag at you, depending
well,
on the location.
the actual you know atmosphere in which
It's
you
dirty in there usually. I still go to Popeyes sometimes, but it's
yeah,
usually, if you go on the inside, the dining room is usually kind of dirty. It's just the way they run their business is like, and they might get into a fight behind the counter,
Yeah,
I
I
think I
mean
saw a video recently where it was somebody coming through the drive-through. Yeah, it was Popeyes. I just saw it on my timeline, and he was like, "Man, I just came here to get some lunch." And in the video, you could just see, and it looked like the manager with one of the like the drive-through person with the thing, and they was literally going at it. Like it wasn't no pushing and shoving. These was two black men, two grown black men, and they was fighting, like actually throwing punches and choking each other out and slamming each other on the ground like they was literally fighting.
well, and that says a lot about you know what because their mission statements, the idea in which
Exactly.
why it runs,
Exactly.
and the reason why it runs, like a lot of
Exactly.
that stuff makes a big difference in how what you get out of it. Because I'm sure, like I don't know Chick-fil-A's mission statement, but I'm sure it's a freaking awesome
And,
fucking mission statement.
and because they have this Christian thing they have going on, and that's the
That's
reason why they don't open on Sunday. No
exactly.
Chick-fil-A's are ever open on Sunday, and it throws me off because I go to my daughter likes Chick-fil-A, and I go be like, oh, let me go get Chick-fil-A because it's not like that with all the rest other places, right? Almost everywhere else is
You can go.
open
All you gotta do
every
is wait
day of the
till
week.
11 o'clock. You wait till after 10:30, 11 o'clock.
It's
You
open
yeah.
every day of the week, but not Chick-fil-A. And but look what that does also for the people who work for Chick-fil-A. Guess what? Everybody who works for Chick-fil-A in a
They know
store,
they off on Sunday.
they know they're off on Sunday. They can plan their life around that. Which Sunday of the month do you want to do this, that, and the other? A lot of people don't have. I don't really have that, and I haven't had that since there was a time when I made some money, but anyways, I haven't had that in a long time. That's a real thing where it's hard to schedule something. Well, I manipulate my schedule, so I do what I want. Let me stop. I do what I want, but a lot of people don't have that ability to, they don't know when they're going to be off. So it's really hard. Their best friend is having a wedding or they got to take off of work to do stuff like this. The normal person, a salary person, a wedding is always on a Saturday, right? That's why they do that, because a normal salary person is off on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they can
That's it.
attend the wedding.
Yeah. Now, and see, I'm gonna tell you. I mean, I own my, I have my own truck and whatever. But like, I've missed a lot of funerals in my family because of the way I work, and just you know something happens. I'm in who knows what part of the country, and in order to keep things balanced, like sometimes I have to just say I'm not gonna be able to. Like, I mean, that's one. I mean, I got away from the whole restaurant idea, but there are jobs where people,
It's the same thing.
even high paying jobs to where you can't just say I can take off, or because of what kind of balance you need to keep in order to keep running. But
And
you know,
sometimes people can't miss. And like I say, a salary person, and they're gonna be off on Saturday. And then the person that's not salaried, they got to take off of work to go to that wedding. And sometimes they can't take off because now they're not gonna be able to pay their rent
well, yeah, especially wages, yeah.
because they
But
missed that 1 day or 2 days or whatever
because
it
of what
was.
for me, like a wedding is much easier to plan for, because that's something that you're planning ahead for. A
Yeah, I'm just
death
using
just
that as an example. Yeah.
yeah, a death just happens, and then it's like, okay, well, let me see if I can organize my way back over here at by this time and whatever, blah blah blah. And it's really kind of it's tougher than you might think, even owning your own shit. But
So yeah, it's super sad. That's a super sad thing that we need to fix in our structure because
but
other countries don't, do it that way.
yeah, but I mean, if we really take it into like some of the other aspects of what she was saying, you know, these, you know, as far as the, of course, we talked about the different structure, the way that they run these businesses. They have to do something different. That's, I think we kind of hit on that. Um, it was another point that I was gonna hit with what did she say? Damn, I done pull a one of the brain fart on let's pull up one of the comments. I don't know who this is, but it's the truth is I grew up in poverty. Oh, ramen noodles, pancakes, cornbread. For me, it was a bunch of eggs and grits, or maybe even rice and eggs. You know what I'm saying?
For me, it was beans and rice.
That might have been a big one too, but like just
And it may not have had no meat in it.
no. That's what I'm trying to
Or
say.
very
No,
little meat if
yeah,
there was any.
a lot of it was not. There was no meat in a lot of cases. We like get a box of grits, cheap, you know, box of grits, and some eggs, which was much cheaper. You know, when we were growing up, they kind of expensive now, but shoot, I mean, even had some of those ramen days as well. You know,
Me too.
I knew how to make pancakes from scratch, so just having some flour, the baking. So you know what I'm saying, you making it all from scratch, so that's a little cheaper too. So I mean, I get it. And shoot, I made my own syrup. You know what I'm saying? That's just a sugar and water mix. You know, the right mix, but
And what makes me mad about society is how they have this view that because you came from a poorer background or whatever, you know, if your folks had to struggle at all, that you somehow lesser, you know, and the people who you know didn't are somehow better, like like you know. And that's where I see in our society where we worship money, you know, money is God, like over religion, you know, because the person with money, born with money, is blessed. The person who won the lottery or whatever, they're blessed, you know what
yeah,
I'm saying. And then you know people don't respect, you know.
human life.
Yeah, like the compare, they want to put people into boxes to say that one person's life has more value than another, or because they feel like, some people feel like there's people whose life has zero value, and I don't see that. I see that if you're human, you're human. You're alive. You're alive. Your life has value. You know.
Yeah, and I one of the things I guess I did want to bring up too was the whole idea about the like okay, the wages not being able to make, you know, like the systematic way that these wages are below the living wage, you know, something that we can actually live on, and people not wanting to go back to these jobs. You know, they quitting these certain jobs, and this gig economy, it kind of goes all the way back to like why they're trying to restructure how they're collecting taxes, because you know that gig economy that's happening right now. So I mean, it's a lot of different things that's happening, but there would still be people that would maybe do this gig economy and still work if it was fair when you go to these different jobs. Because you're right, like $8, $9, $10, $15 is really, I mean, when you really think about it, if you work in a 40-hour week,
It's not enough to pay for nothing
yeah, I mean, if you work a 40-hour week,
after they take
even
taxes.
at $20 an hour, no, let's not even, not just gross, not even them taking it, because we know that's going to happen with wages. 40 hours a week at $20 an hour is what? That's $800.
What you gonna do with that? What you gonna pay for with that? How you gonna buy anything? How you gonna build any kind of life? Have equity? Own something? Will you ever own anything? Can you possibly? Because that's not even enough to live. So you definitely not going to be able to own anything.
Well, and that's the thing. That's one of the things that they're like. All of these things are purposely being done this way, and they will put this tax money back into the corporations for the ones who are not paying taxes, who found every loophole for them not to have, you know, for them to pay zero taxes, but they can be subsidized in different ways, or even if it
When
comes
I
down to,
first when I first discovered that shit, that was true some years ago, I cried, man. That it was actually true, because you know I'm one of them people that grew up believing in the American dream and all of this shit, bro. You know, I believed in everybody has an opportunity. You can go out there and make it happen. And, you know, we pay taxes. I'm proud to pay taxes because, you know, it's good for the world. It's good for our economy. It's good for everything to work. And, you know, I'm an upstanding citizen.
Well,
But
and
then when
you
I saw
know,
that in the back door, they was doing these backdoor things and telling me this and then backdooring some other shit. That's why I could never go fight for the military. And respect to everybody who has. And you know, I have to
of
do a
course,
disclaimer. My dad was in the military. My brother was in
mine
the
too.
military. Both of them was in the Air Force. But me, I could never, ever, 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 ever in a billion years go fight for this country, knowing what they do.
Well, and that's how I feel as far as even with the taxes, because I'm like, you know, why pay taxes into something that, you know, because I mean, if it was actually helping my mom, my brothers, my cousins, my neighbors, you know, like if me paying into a certain system and people, you know, in a tax bracket that can't do some of the things that I can do, I would gladly pay even if I didn't have to. But because I know that that money hardly ever gets back to the people who need it, is
And
why I'm just like, I don't care. Like,
it mostly
why?
goes to the corporations. And then they tell you to put your money in these, you know, if you really want to help, you know, we know the government doesn't really help very much, but there's foundations and there's places where you can find a, you know, a nonprofit organization, somebody to donate to, and leave it up to
Well,
them to take care of the
well,
people.
and one that's one of the things. Like when people call me and ask for me to donate to this or that or whatever, it's like, okay, well, what percentage of these funds go directly to the, you know, these people? And oh well, you know, I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not so sure. They be sure because like 10% of that money a lot of times is what actually gets to the people that they supposedly are helping. You talk about the
and
Red
and
Cross.
out of that 10%, they're gonna use
90%,
they're gonna
85 to
use
90% goes to them.
administration and shit. And but
Yes.
out of that 10% that they're gonna use to the people, that shit gonna be band-aids and bandages or some shit
Something
that
that
don't really help nobody, you know.
exactly. So that's why, like, I mean, I rather give a homeless person, you know, $20 or $50, you know, something, you know, I'd rather do that
I
where I
think
know it went directly to somebody I can see needs help.
and I think
You know,
that's how you should pay your tithes because
well,
I don't
and
believe in giving the church
that's
the fucking money.
that's my
So
tithe.
I,
That is my
I pay
tithe.
my tithes by giving it to somebody that I think can use it, that actually help them in some kind of fucking way.
Yep, and that is exactly how I see that is, you know, me paying tithes because, you know,
Every time somebody asks me
I
for
don't think
something,
it's just the churches that I've gone to because I think most churches operate the same way. You know, I've visited my aunt's church where I've actually seen the churches like, all right, who need help with their light bill? Somebody throw up their hand. Say, all right,
right?
we got, you know, they'll be like, all right, well, come on,
That's
well,
what should be happening in every church.
yeah, and you know, I've only seen that like it's a rare thing, you know, and this was years ago when I actually visited and I saw this happen. So it's like not everybody is doing that, and that's what should be happening everywhere. And I mean, not to even say, you know, like these big mega churches,
But
like
then that goes back to what we was talking about, the socialism. A lot of people would call that communism or something. It's so stupid.
well, you know, like I said, I mean, maybe I need a better description on communism because that was something that was promoted as negative. I guess the same thing was socialism, but you know,
I'm
of
not
course,
saying
I
that's
haven't.
communism. I'm saying people would say that it was. Yeah. No, I would call it socialism, which is what it really is. I
Yeah,
wouldn't call it communism. No.
well,
Communism
because I
is a
mean, because
different
I
thing.
think a lot of people relate some of that back to like what the old Soviet Union
That's what my
was
point is, and they're going to call it communism because they're going to say, that's communism.
yeah.
They leave it up to the individual. You're supposed to pull yourself up. It's getting late, but I want to play one more clip before I put y'all to sleep. Before we wrap it.
It's weird when it's somebody you know, but first time you see him is on Zoom in a year.
Yeah. So weird, but glad to be here all the same.
So before we get into the origins of where this piece came from, and and for the listeners who are kind of new to the podcast, I'm sure the diehards already know this, but stories come up a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's something in the news, sometimes it's with personal experience. And this one, I believe you two have experience. You two have both been in the trenches of food service.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Madeline, we'll start with you. Madeline, run down your pedigree. When did you get medals in? Where did you earn your stripes?
So I started in the service industry when I was 16, and I stayed for about, on and off for 10 years. It's something that you can always go back to, it's always there. So I always feel like, on one hand, you always have your service resume, and then maybe you're doing something else.
I have 2 resumes, by the way, just like what she's
I did
saying.
waitressing for a long time. I was
I
I was a barista, so I worked with in cafes, making coffee, being in there at early hours in the morning. So I like to sleep in now. That's my favorite thing. I don't like to get on the train at 4:30 and go and open up anything. So I was just I will sleep till noon. I don't feel bad about that.
I used to have to open the restaurant at 7 a.m. and it was traffic
Stephanie,
on
what about
290,
you?
so I had to leave at
what
5.
food service
5:30.
branch that you serve?
For me, it started probably, I guess I would say in college. I worked at the university's catering company. So it was doing weddings, alumni events, for
Football
catering.
team dinners and all of that.
All of it. Any sort of convention that was being held at
Sounds
the
like
college
some
went
stuff I
to,
did at
all
LSU.
of that.
So you was doing the
Me too.
salad fork, the shrimp fork.
I used to do that. I know how to
fork.
set a table. I know how to
so many
fold
people.
napkins.
And personalities.
Polishing
and personalities.
glasses.
That's I was serving
Rolling the tables,
silverware and
tablecloths.
personalities. That's what I was
Rolling
doing.
silverware.
Circle tables with the white cloth.
Yep.
Exactly. All of that. Yeah. So I started with that, which was a nightmare. And then when I got out of college, I worked actually at a movie theater that served food in the theater. So you had to it was just like a full service restaurant, but you had to take
we had
orders while people
dinner
were
theaters, too.
watching a movie, or if they wanted a refill.
I'm
of the
gonna
drink,
lie, I
it's
love to go
at
to
the
those
climax of the
places.
movie. They'd pause you. and be
Studio
like, "Oh,
Movie
it's
Grill
let
is
me
my
just-
favorite
let me
place
just
to
see
go
what's
watch a
gonna happen
movie.
in this moment." And then you get
Oh
to
yeah,
take
well no, I'm
orders.
talking
It
about when I was
a nightmare.
working at
A
LSU.
complete
It
nightmare.
wasn't
Yeah.
movies. It was
So in this
actually like
segment,
a
Madeline, I'll
play
start with
or
you.
like
Walk me through the inception. What were you all hoping to achieve with this segment?
Yeah, so it was
theater was
something
like
that
a
had been on my
little
mind
play or
for
something
a long
that
time,
was
also
going on while you
because,
sitting there
and I
eating
think
dinner.
Padma touched on this really well, in the previous part of this.
I never
where
thought
just,
about how difficult it was
there
for the
the
service because I
restaurant
love those places.
industry
But yeah,
has just been
I
hit so
tip
hard in the
though.
pandemic, and
But
I
yeah.
think we've all been very lucky being able to work from home, and for some people there was never a shutdown. A lot of people lost their jobs, but there never really was a shutdown, and kind of seeing how that impacted just this massive industry that I think we all have either worked in, but we all rely on. And so then in May, what was happening was there was just this, businesses were trying to hire people, but again, workers didn't want to go back because a lot of times it wasn't safe and they weren't getting paid a lot, right? We're treating them like essential workers, and they were not, they were working as essential workers and we weren't treating them as.
Exactly.
So it was just one of these news narratives of big restaurants like McDonald's and Applebee's struggling because they're lazy entitled workers are spending their unemployment checks and just sitting at home
And how much did you hear that in the
how
news?
dare them restaurant workers were the Goliath and Applebee's is the David, and it was just what is this? So I talked to my boss about it, and he was just yeah, Trevor's already really interested in this, and so that really made it easy to kind of get deeper into the argument and say what is behind this, where does this come from, and
This is when I knew that the restaurant industry was struggling. This is when I knew it was some shit going on.
Yeah.
McDonald's was offering free iPhones, and then Applebee's was offering free appetizers just for the interview. Just come, hey man, you ain't even gotta work here, dog.
Yeah.
I'll just give you cheese sticks if you just come and pretend you want to work here. I was like, and I think now is it Chick-fil-A that's offering college tuition? Like there's a couple of spots that are like, we'll even send you to college.
Oh yeah,
You make that some
they're
real.
offering all these things, which honestly I think they should just be offering the whole time. But they're just like, this is like a
Exactly.
perk now. It's like health insurance is like a perk of a job. Like it's framed in this way. Where it's like, it's like
We're
what?
gonna
Or
sell
even
you
a
on this
free
terrible
meal.
job by giving you benefits you should have had that wouldn't have made it terrible in the first place.
I would apply.
Have at it.
Nobody in the restaurant should be like hungry when they go
I
home.
was like,
They
I
don't
was like,
feed
is
us.
that
We
right?
have
I'll
to
go
pay.
get an iPhone
I
for free.
thought
Depending
about
on
it.
the app, I would apply
all the
at
time.
Applebee's too. It just depends. You know,
Yes.
I was like, yeah, I'll come in.
what are we
I know.
counting as an app? That sizzling
Not
chicken? I
only-
might apply.
Not only would I go to Applebee's for a free job application appetizer, I'd take my girl with me and say it's a date. Hey, we're
Dating
both
on
gonna
a
go to
budget.
You pretend to need a job too. Let's both be quiet and get paid real quick.
They're gonna be like, oh, Roy, back again. Like,
You just see these people subjected, people being the service industry workers, being subjected to so much nasty behavior from customers. And the videos go viral of people going behind the counter to make their own burger, or some anti-masker yelling at a woman who's just enforcing her company's policy, not her own politics. What are some of the horror stories? Stephanie, I'll start with you. What are some of the horror stories that you've had working in the service industry?
Oh my goodness. Just from the I would say the basic thing is just the interactions, just microaggressions and interactions, cultural microaggressions, read racism, just different things, asking me where I'm from, to
Like, I'm from America.
yeah, exactly.
Where
No, but
you
like where you
from,
really from? Exactly.
Yeah, where you
'Cause,
from?
of course, I'm lying. I would also say just like attitudes,
Mbutu. I'm
basic
from Africa,
attitudes. Like
really. I
you're
was
at a
just joking.
wedding, you're here to celebrate someone's love. Okay.
No offense to y'all. I'm just
Why is
joking.
your attitude so stank?
And so
I
that's
don't
how stupid it
understand.
is.
Like what you're asking me to bring you water. Why do you have to be so rude about it? I'll bring you water. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
Sometimes
Just
I don't know what to
attitude.
do. I'll pretend. I play roles when they ask
Water is gonna
sometimes.
be something
When
else.
people that are
might
really
be bleach, might be
racist,
saliva.
sometimes
Let's watch
that's
your
what I
mouth.
do to entertain
I've heard some
myself.
things from servers before. I literally have heard a server say,
I'll play
this
some
person didn't tip
dumbass
me.
role
I
with
should have
them
spit in their
the whole
water."
time.
So you would think with that
Yep.
in the sort of discussion of like what happens in service industry, sometimes not justifying it, that people would have better attitudes. You would
got to
think,
be
but no.
bold. Madeline,
Why
I
would
know
you
you've
be-
messed up somebody's matcha latte?
Yeah, why would you be mean to
espresso, and
somebody
then they
who's
come back
bringing
in,
you your
"Hey,
food?"
Hey, woman,
Exactly.
you didn't put.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
2% milk. You gave me 1% milk.
I asked for 8 pumps of caramel, like, and you're just like, why? Why do you want that much? Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, yes to what Stephanie's talking about. I think there's just like people get like drunk on power. Like,
Yes.
there's like this sense of entitlement if you're
Yes.
behind the counter that they're just like, I can treat you.
Yes.
Like however I
And
want.
that's in
and
any
like,
service
there's like
industry.
this, I don't know. I kind of think of it as like I have customer horror stories and I have like employer horror stories. So I don't know what I was like, which one do you want? Because I have both.
Well, I think both because the employers are just as bad, and this was something we didn't have time to get into with Padma, but
Mhm.
there's definitely a very odd militaristic
Yes.
Mhm.
mindset within food service.
Yes.
Like, do whatever it takes, stay all night.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I remember, I give you a perfect example. When I worked at Golden Corral, the busy day was Saturdays for Florida State home games. So if Florida State had a home game, we open at 7:30 for breakfast. The line starts at 6:45. So you have the big buses and the tour groups coming. Your shift is over with at 2.
Yeah.
I'm off at 2.
Are you though?
I'm off.
Yeah.
I'm off the floor.
Are you though? Are you just like
Your last table is set at 1 in your section. You relinquish your section at 1. You start side work at 1:30. Any table that's still there after 2, you can give to the server that inherited your section, or you could wait patiently for your tip at the break room. But while you're waiting in that like 1:30 to 2 o'clock range where you're technically off the floor, a bus could come and then they'll go, oh, you got to get back out on the floor. And if you don't do
All
that,
hands on
then
deck.
you're not a team player. And then
Mhm.
next week, you're not working Saturdays at all. And Saturdays are money day.
And that
'cause
is
Florida
so
State's
true.
in
That's how
town.
they retaliate
So
against
they'll
us
take you. So
with the
it's
schedule.
those little, like you said, those microaggressions and these little passive, I'm a shift leader and I've never been in charge of people, so I'm going to haze you.
Yeah.
You deal with that type of shit all
Man,
the
we
time.
got
Like,
some
and those are the
dumbasses at
things
my
that really
job.
made that job
Lord.
hard. I mean, honestly, at least the
They
customers,
like to put the
you don't know what
dumbasses
they're
in
going through,
charge.
but you're my coworker, dog. You're supposed to
Like, you the
support
dumbest
me.
person in here.
Like,
What
that
the
to me
fuck?
is more damaging to the morale of, you know, a food worker.
And like they say, they get drunk with
their
their
boss, or
power
from
and
your
want to like
supervisor, or
push
from,
push
you know,
you
just your
around
other
at work.
coworkers in
You know what I mean?
Especially from the perspective if it's like your supervisor, because you're not telling me that I can't leave when my shift is over, but you're implying that me leaving when my shift is over is going to prevent me getting those hours next time, or it's going
Yeah,
to
you're a
prevent
bad
me
worker.
making more money. Exactly. Or it's indicative of my work ethic. When I've worked my shift, it's over. I should be able to go without feeling any sort of animus from you or any sort of guilt for reclaiming my time. That's what I'm doing. I'm reclaiming my time, and I shouldn't have to feel guilty about that. But it is what it is. But with the customer, they're gone. You may never see that person again. So it's worse when it's your boss, I think. I definitely think so.
Yeah, I think that's a huge aspect of just like these unwritten rules, or like, you know, there are laws, but there's like these spaces between them. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, you had a shift, but you need to show up. Okay, so my horror story quickly of just one thing that would happen, and I think Roy, you hit on this really well, of just how long it takes. Like when you come in, like, so like if you open a coffee shop, like sometimes like people are like out there like Dawn of the Dead, like, you know, like banging on the windows, like they want coffee, and you're just like, we have no coffee yet. It's 5:30 and we open at 6, and they're like, can we just come in? And you're like, no, you cannot. So like on Saturdays, you know, for example, like you'd be busy all day. You're busy before you open, right? And so if you're, you know, so if you're on the closing shift, and like, you know, like you have to set up things for the people who are coming in, right? So closing is like a huge, like you have to clean, like
Yeah.
you have to clean the bathrooms, which all cafes are like public bathrooms because we don't have like bathrooms in this country.
All the food prep has to be stocked
yeah.
and done and ready. The
You
milk
gotta
have to be
clean, you gotta
replenished.
mop, like you have to do everything. Yeah, restock, because like there's a new shift coming in at 5:30. So so at this coffee shop, which I will not name, but my bosses who own the coffee shop, they would make us fill out our timesheets ahead of time, which is called wage stack.
What?
Yeah. So they would be like, so it's going to take you 15 minutes to close on Saturday. I was like, it will never take me 15, because people are in here until we close. Yeah. So like they would be like, this is how you're going to work, right? And I was like,
see,
no, but they would like make us
that's-
fill it out. So
Yeah.
they'd be like, this is how much we want you to work.
Those are the things about
It
food
happens
service that people don't know
at
about. So
Yeah.
how do we
Home Depot
how do we
too,
get
because
people
they
to know more
would tell you
about,
to
like,
get
what are
done
some
with a
other
certain
things that you
thing
think
by a
people-
certain
I'll give you
time.
one. I
And say
wish
you
that
have to
more
clock
people
out at
knew
this
the
time. We don't
amount
care.
of work a
But they want
server
you to
has
get this
do with
work
the end
done.
of their shift.
But sometimes
When
you'll
you're
just go
like,
clock out and then go back
I
and knock
feel
some
a
of that
certain
shit
feeling
out.
of guilt
So
when
it'll
I
be
know
done.
I'm someone's last table.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
so much so to the point that I'll even close out. Like if I know I'm gonna be here another 15 minutes, hey man, just bring me the check now and I'll close. So you
Yeah.
can go. You're free.
Yeah.
You don't have an open check in the dining room
Yeah.
that you're waiting on. Like there's just these certain things that add more time to these people's lives that I just don't think, you know, a lot of people give a second thought to. Like I try my best not to go to any fast food restaurant that's 30 minutes from closing. If you're
Yes.
within, like the first thing I'll ask before I order is what time do you
Don't
close?
go to a restaurant
What
right
are some
before it
things, Madeline?
closes
What are some
unless you
things that
just
wish the general
absolutely have
public
to,
knew
people.
about this life in this world?
I mean, this is like really hard work. And I know you guys talked about it a little bit, but like I think something that drives me crazy is just like the language that we have around service industry work in general. Like we call it like low skilled or unskilled. Like we just have
Yes.
all these like pejorative terms
Yes.
that we use when we talk about this work. I mean, kind of like what I mentioned, like it's like you have two resumes because people don't recognize the work you do
Right.
in the service industry
Right.
as like legitimate or like something that is on par with something that you would do in a different place. And then look, not all skills are transferable, but like, you know, I'll say like I'm better at my job that I do now because I worked in the service industry. Because like Stephanie, like what you were saying, I was like,
Yeah.
you're like a diplomat, you know, you were
Yeah.
a therapist to people. Like you were dealing with a lot of different people in like a very fast changing environment. and you have to think on your feet, you know.
I agree with you, Mads, about particularly about the skill sets that come out of restaurant worker, like working in the service industry in general. The personalities alone on the front and the back end, like dealing with your management and dealing with customers, that will prepare you to work anywhere in corporate America. Literally, you can work if you can
That's
deal
true.
with
That's
the
very true.
wide array of crazy personalities. You are prepared to work on Wall Street. Like, you can do it. You can absolutely do it, because half the battle in corporate America are personalities. So you've already got a really good soft skill. Okay, not to mention mathematics. You have to.
Oh my
people,
God, right?
well,
Yes.
what's 20% of the? Why are you asking me to calculate the tip? I need, don't you have a smartphone? Like, all of these little things that are soft skills that can be.
Okay, what you think about all that?
Well, I want to mention, because a lot of that stuff is like good stuff for people to recognize. But one thing that I like, there's a minimum that I would tip anybody. That whole 20%, I think, is, somewhat bullshit, because if you go somewhere for breakfast, that shit's probably less than $10.
Right.
You pay them 20% of that. I mean, okay, $2 might be fair for if they did a horrible job, but I'm probably gonna do no less than $5. Just for the fact, because I mean, regardless of what meal it is and how much you pay for the meal, this person is still here waiting on you, bringing you whatever it is you need. You asked
Sorry
me for
about that,
this,
y'all.
huh?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that you should never, like, I don't care, especially like stuff like that. You shouldn't be tipping anybody less than $5. Really, like, I went to Huddle House this was yesterday. Now, yesterday morning, my meal might have been like $8-9, something like that. I still tipped the girl $10 because it's like she took care of me. It shouldn't really matter about the meal. Now, if you go into some fancy restaurant where the meals, you might end up spending $60-70 or
But
whatever.
that's one of the things that's different. And when you go to a nice place, they're going to force you to tip. And a lot of times, they're going to force you to tip 15, 18, 20%. It's going to be like included in the price of some shit. And then you just accept it. And it's so crazy because, like you said, but the server that works at Denny's, they can work all day, 10, 12 hours to make like $50, $60. And that's because everybody tipped them like $1, $2, $3 every time. And they just they literally took like 50, 60, 100 tables.
Yeah, which is messed up. I mean, like I said, I mean, even if you spend a $20 meal, like, you shouldn't be giving them any, like, no. $5 really is kind of a bullshit tip.
And a lot of people don't feel like they are. And the excuse is that the people don't know, that the waiters work off their tips. But I think it's that ugliness of America is like, oh, you didn't smile good enough, so you don't deserve. No, I'm gonna give you a quarter. I'm gonna give you some change.
Yeah.
You didn't stick your head in my ass good enough, so I'm not gonna tip you at all.
Yeah.
Even though everything was good, the food was good, you brought me everything I wanted, but you didn't laugh at my jokes with enough emphatic
vigor.
You didn't convince me. Your laughs didn't convince me when I made my jokes. I think you was pretending to laugh. So yeah, you don't get no tip.
Yeah, for whatever reason they can make up because they just a cheap motherfucker to begin with. But another thing I would say too is bring cash. You pay,
And all the split checks too is another thing. You come in a large party and it's 10 of y'all and y'all want to do 10 split checks. And you know what's crazy about that? People be wanting you to do that really quickly too. But how long when you go to the gas station and you pay for gas and cigarettes and all of this, how long does it take for you to get through that line? and you're just one transaction, motherfucker. I'm doing 10, 20. I do it all the time. Large party, 20 split checks. And they always be like, damn, what's taking so long? Bruh. Because y'all wanted it split, I'm doing 20 different transactions, bitch.
Yeah.
That's gonna take time. First off, I gotta figure out what the hell your ass had. Because when you sit at a table, the way we bring it up, all that shit is going to be together on the screen, because normally people pay together, so the check is going to print out all as one, so you can just pay all together. You want to split, and then look, people be like, oh, and I want half of the appetizer. Like I only ate half of the appetizer. I only want to pay half of the appetizer, so I want to pay for my food, half the appetizer, and I want to pay for like the 3 drinks. I had 3 alcoholic drinks, you know, and oh, wait, I want to pay for Sally's food down there at the end of the table. And Sally had like, I don't know, I think she had 2 drinks. How many drinks did you have, Sally? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Please, people, please. If I don't know why you want to go out to eat with somebody if you don't trust them or whatever. Like y'all can't work this out with cash, or y'all can't cash app each other, or maybe y'all can get exchanged money later, or maybe one time one person got the dinner and other person, things to make this transaction just work more smoothly, and it just makes more fucking sense. What kills me about is people is when they go out to the restaurant, like they don't even share. Like the way it is now, people order appetizers for themselves, and they be like, did you want some appetizer? Because yeah, I'm gonna eat all of this, so if you want an appetizer, you better order it. Like the whole point of fucking appetizers is to share with somebody. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what happened to the world, bro? And like I say, they only want to, and I've seen families, bro, that come in and they split the check. It could be husband and wife. It could be mother and daughter. Why are y'all doing that? What is going on?
My reason for saying the whole bring cash is because, like, the tips, you know, you tip somebody in cash, that can help that person like right now, right away. Where people who, you know, like if you're paying with your card, not only that's something they gotta wait for, for whatever payday is, but they're taking taxes from it, and you're already cheap on paying tax, you know, giving a tip. Let them have that tip right now in their hand, and you know, if you want, you can pay your bill with your card if you want to, but give them people some cash.
I agree with the tip in cash. I agree with that. But we still pay the taxes on it. They find a way to do that. It's all set. It's in there. Yeah, we still pay taxes on those cash tips.
That's
I would
bullshit.
explain how it works, but I still work at the place that I work at, so I don't, you know, it's probably not a good idea if I do that. But even when you pay us cash, even if you pay credit, you tip us cash, we still getting taxed on that. And in more than one way. Maybe I can explain it to you off camera. I don't want to talk about it.
I understand. Yeah, I feel you. But I mean, it's
But
already ridiculous that, I mean, the whole, like, wages shouldn't be taxed anyway.
Yeah.
But
You're right about the tipping in cash though. It makes a difference for us. Like for me, for us, where I work at, we get our money at at the end of the night, once the manager closes the books for that day, then whatever those credit card tips was, we'll get those. But we may get them already depending on how much cash we receive for that day too. So so cash helps on both sides.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
But
you know,
some places I worked at a fine dining place and I had to wait 2 weeks for all my credit card tips. Literally 2 weeks. And you know how like if you had a week in the hole, you just started the job, you waiting 3 weeks for those tips.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was actually the place where I made some of the most money though. That's what I'm saying though. As it goes up, that's how it is. Those places you tend to make more money, but you just gotta wait 2 weeks. But you do get to walk with your cash tips, so it helps. A person that's been waiting 2 weeks for his credit card tips, he's not gonna tell you this stuff. This nigga might be starving for real. Like he really struggling, waiting for that check. A lot of people live like that, but especially waiters, and even waiters that work at really nice restaurants and the ones that make a lot of money, because some of these places pay you about a month. You will wait a month for your check. Now these checks be huge, but that's another thing. You have to manage your money. You pay all your bills. But still, this nigga might be starving like a motherfucker. He working in the fine dining ass restaurant. He's serving you this beautifully wonderful food. This nigga been eating noodles and he really struggling, and you just tipped him $200, but it was on the credit card, and shit, he finna go home and eat noodles again, bro. He fucking
he might take a chance and eat that damn hush puppy that you didn't eat off of your plate.
I'm telling you, man, because literally starving. So in that situation, that would help that guy out a lot. That 200 that you left on credit, leaving in cash. But see, a lot of people don't. They've literally, because that's how I was at a time. I literally never had any cash on hand. If I needed to do some kind of cash transaction, I'd have to think about it beforehand so that I could pull the cash out, you know what I'm saying, and have it on hand. So I was literally like that. So I think that a lot of people are out there are like that. So before they go to the restaurant, they would have to have thought about it and then it's kind of like a chore, right? Because now you got to go through the drive-through in the ATM or something. This is like something that you wouldn't have had to do throughout your day. So you have, first off, you got to think about it and remember it. And then you have to do the chore of going through an ATM or whatever it is you have to do to get cash. Maybe stopping at a gas station and getting cash back or whatever. Either way, it's something, it's a chore. So, But that's what I recommend everybody to do. Those people out there that are listening, if you don't ever have cash, when you getting ready to go out to eat, just remember, hey, I want a tip in cash, so let me go ahead and stop and pull. Because I know a lot of people don't have cash on hand. A lot of people don't.
Yeah, I was like that at one time, but there's a certain convenience, and then just because I ain't gonna lie, I keep cash for different of course, going to restaurants and because I take out my I give myself an allowance for just like my pocket change or whatever. Still might spend on my card depending on what it is, but
because that's how you manage your money, right? Because we talked about that in another video, because I do the same thing.
Yeah. So, but I also me being a truck driver, my time means a lot to me. So I might get there and there's a forklift driver that seems pretty cool. I'm like, hey man, you can get me in and out of here. I got some cash for you. You know what I'm saying? So
there's a lot of advantages to cash, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly.
Having it on hand. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But Cash App, everybody need to catch up to the times though. Cash App is good as fuck. They got Cash App, Venmo, all kinds of apps that you can have on your phone to make it a lot easier. I don't like PayPal. That's why I didn't mention. But yeah, so there's a lot of apps out there that you can use to do that now. So, but that's the problem. I say that anybody that's out there that has any kind of business, or let's say you're just a forklift driver, because it might be a situation where Pat pulled up and he forgot to pull out the cash, and you guess what? You don't have the damn Cash App on your damn phone or Venmo or nothing. You don't have nothing on there. Pat want to give you some money and you can't even get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm just saying, everybody out there need to have at least one of those apps active.
It should. My oldest brother is just recently got a Cash App. Like my other brother, I send him money all the time. My middle brother, he called me, hey man, I need some lunch, this, that, or whatever. So me and him been doing that. But my oldest brother, like he just like old school. I mean, he just
Yeah.
like 6 years older than me, so he ain't like ancient. He ain't like super old, like grandma talking about. Oh no, baby, I don't use no bank.
Yeah.
You know, but he
You need to
finally
get.
got around to
It's
doing
time.
Cash App. Yeah,
Everybody
man.
needs to do it because, like, the thing is though, it revolutionized the game. Because remember, because my sister used to always ask me for money, and remember, you had to do like Western Union or some shit,
Oh
like
my goodness.
cashier's checks or all this shit
Yes.
that was
Go
dangerous could get
go stand in
lost.
line at the Walmart.
And it could get lost, it could get stolen. It was such a hassle in a million different kind of ways. It was
No,
hard to
no,
track.
no. The different code that you might have to have
Yeah,
to be,
to
to get it
access it,
released, and
all
it,
that shit. It was a
yeah,
fucking nightmare. And then it was expensive as fuck. Remember? The percentage of it was high as fuck.
hell yeah.
So yeah, that
Whether it was a MoneyGram or
and
Western
that's what I be
Union.
saying about technology because see, you think about it, those apps done put them money grams and shit. I mean, I'm sure they still exist, but not like how they were.
I'm surprised they didn't make them like there's not a Western Union app that you can
They
use.
probably didn't jump on it. That's what the problem with these companies being ran by dumbasses, not jumping on it. Look what happened to Blockbuster. Remember Blockbuster?
Oh my God, do I? It used to be a Blockbuster all the time. Like they don't find me so many times for not rewinding. But you,
Blockbuster is the poster child for not jumping on shit, not
well, yeah, but
adjusting.
because and they were in the best position. Like they already had a bunch of
And they had
contracts with
so much money. But look, another thing they was doing was kind of like ripping off their customers. They kept driving the prices up, and it was like the return fees was more than the damn movie, and all of this shit. Like, they got greedy because they felt like they had a monopoly on the market. And they dumbasses. They let fucking. But the thing is, things change with the streaming and shit. But that's not. They should have adjusted. They have executives. They see shit coming, and also like what was it? Redbox was the one that really did it to them. So that was before the streaming really got off. Because we should have a Blockbuster streaming service probably right now. If they would have been on their shit, they would have beat
yeah.
Redbox with that shit Redbox did, and they would have beat the Netflix. They would be sitting there next
Well,
to Netflix right now.
well, Netflix was the one that came first, and they offered before it was just because it wasn't just the streaming. Like they offered where like you can, they would send you videos in the mail, and when the mailman scans it, them having it, they automatically sending you a new DVD or movie, whatever that's on its way to you because you build up your list, and then it came up to where it was streaming and DVD. Like you can get unlimited streaming of whatever few movies they had streaming at the time, but then you could still build up your list of movies that you could get sent to you DVD. And like I said, they was connected to the post office where as soon as they get that scan, okay, they consider they have that back, and then now they sending you more stuff. So Netflix really is like they changed the game for real. Like it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. So but look at Blockbuster being a dumbass. They let Redbox and Netflix become something because, well, I mean, Redbox and Netflix probably would have been something anyways, but Blockbuster should have been right there next to them.
Well, yeah, they could have coexisted because I mean, really, Blockbuster was, I guess, in a better position to do what, like just having that animated box, like
But they stayed
the
with
bin.
their old ass model that they came up with,
Mm-hmm.
and they doubled down with that model,
And
basically
lost.
robbing their customers, yeah, and didn't adjust, you know, and they didn't see the future. They didn't plan, ahead. They lost. So I think people really should study Blockbuster and what happened with Blockbuster because that's important. So, but look, I want to talk about the banks because the banks basically did the same shit as Blockbuster did. Certain specific banks and the big ones. It was big huge banks and these hedge funds or whatever. This was like, what was this? 2001, I want to say, and maybe again in like 2009 or whatever it was, 2008, 2009. Anyways, but like how nobody came to save Blockbuster. They was like, oh well, you fucked up. they
Really?
literally disappeared. They literally just went out of business and disappeared. But these banks did the exact same thing, but Obama and previously, who was it? Bush Jr. fucking fed the banks the money for them to stay afloat. They really should have went out of business. Like Blackwater or Black Rock or whatever the hell, and I think it's IBC Bank? I don't know. Some big ass banks that's still here now shouldn't be here today. Because it wouldn't be if it wasn't for all this money that the government poured into them, their
bailout.
books. They literally poured this money into their books, or they wouldn't have been able to make it. They also changed laws related to the interest rate that would also benefit them to keep them alive. But the government said these institutions are too big to fail. We can't let them fail.
Well, I mean, I guess overall, I mean, from that point of view, I guess it would. I mean, really, I mean, I guess those car companies, they probably should have been bailed out, but
Not even them. Fuck that.
Huh?
Not even them. The car companies, no, not even them. They should have went out of fucking business. It was
They're
other
not.
car companies that was doing all right, bro. That
Yeah,
was
but I mean,
taking
at the
care of their customers and had books that was in the green.
Well, my thing is, I
In
mean,
the
the
black.
bailout for the car companies, I wasn't necessarily against that. It was more so the banks that was writing these bad deals.
Yeah.
All these high interest rates, where they robbing the people with
Right.
these high interest rates. But then the bank, well, I guess the banks were approving them,
They
but the
saved
actual
those car companies too, though.
the,
That's what I thought you was talking
the
about.
well, yeah, they did save the car companies too, but I think they should have been saving them because the manufacturer, most people, that's what they have to be able to go through a bank or something. Most people can't just go buy a brand new car cash. So they have these bank systems set up, but if they're writing bad paper, then you can't really blame the fall of the car company because of bad dealings they were doing. It
No, it
was
wasn't. The car companies wasn't necessarily connected to the banks. The real estate industry was connected to the banks more so. I
no
mean, that
the cars too. It was both actually. Like I was in the car business at the
because
time.
of the financing part side of it. I
Yeah.
thought with the car company, I thought it was. Damn, I'm trying to remember. That was a while ago.
It was some mismanaging there, but at the same time, the banks were allowing people to get cars
Cause I thought that the cars
that couldn't
they were
afford it.
overhead on the cars. They was like, and then they had more cars. It was cars sitting in the ports, and like they was doing just some weird ass shit. I can't
See,
remember.
well, it got to the point where people couldn't buy cars because of the downtick on the economy at the time. So
Yeah, it was the production. Yeah,
they had way more production than what they could actually sell. Like they
yeah,
had them produce some more. So that's one. Like they done spent money on sheet metal engines, all this kind of stuff. Where you know, and these cars are now they done set over a year. These brand new cars that, you know,
But
most
no,
of they
again,
can't.
that exposes all the flaws in their business models. You
Well,
know,
I get
stop
that.
producing so much. Also, stop charging people so much for the new ass cars. And last year's cars, why is last year's cars depreciation go so fucking much? You know,
I
again, that
mean,
reveals a problem in the market, or I mean, not in the market, in your business model. You need to do it better. You should be more resilient. Every business can't if your business relies on the economy fluctuating just off of, some little fluctuation, you should have a system in, what you do in your plan that deals with that shit. Come on.
well, yeah. I mean, I'm with you, but look, I'm gonna tell you, there was a bailout, right, for both. Let's just say for the car manufacturers and for real estate, and this is still all through the bank. The bad business that's being done by the bank, they're getting sold out. I mean, they're selling this what we call it selling paper, but they're writing these deals that's like they know a lot of these people can't cover because some of them are balloon payments after
Right.
or like they would the fluctuating interest rates. It wasn't fixed interest rates that was they would have a consistent payment. Might jump from they might start off with a $1,200-$1,500 note payment. I mean per month payment or mortgage, and then 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, it might jump to 1,800 or 2,200 or something
Right.
like that because of the fluctuating interest. So
Mhm.
these were the kind of bad deals the bank was making. But
Right.
listen, this is the part I think a lot of people miss. Why is it that these people still got kicked out of those houses, and the government supposedly paid the banks for the losses that
Right.
so like they pretty much paid off these houses,
They
but they
double
was
one.
well,
They
yeah,
double
so
one. They
yeah,
double
so they
one because the right, the government came in and paid for those bad loans. But guess
uh-huh.
what? Those damn houses went to foreclosure or whatever, so the bank still ended up with the property. And they
Exactly.
still made money again when it was sold again or whatever.
Exactly.
A lot of them turned into rent houses. So if the bank still own that house, guess what? They getting paid fucking forever off of that shit.
Exactly. And that's what I think a lot of people miss because like a lot of people went through foreclosures
And
during
then
that
yeah.
time.
So then what did the homeowners get out of this deal? We knew the banks
Nothing.
fucked over
And
everything.
and that's the part that I'm talking about because like the taxpayers, the people who actually pay taxes, pay for that shit, but
And
they're
didn't get
still the
shit.
ones. They're
Cause it
still the
happened
ones
to
that
me.
get
You
kicked
know, I
out on the
lost my
street.
house. I lost my house. I was still in my house by 2012 though, and it was a class action lawsuit in my neighborhood. They sent me the thing, but because I stayed in my house to 2012, and the whole thing was like 2009, 2010, or
Yeah.
whatever, I missed the little window for that class action lawsuit because my whole situation fit that to a T. And
Yeah.
I did lose my house in 2012. And so, but again, I didn't get shit for the lawsuit. And then, like I say, that's the system that they do with the damn suits. And I hate that people uplift that shit like, oh, just sue them. That just like that shit that people be saying when they say they won't do that to me. You know how like the black kid got
If
shot
I
by
was
the
if
cops.
I was if I was in slavery,
If I was in slavery,
I wouldn't have dealt with that crap.
they wouldn't have done that to me. And anytime
Yeah.
they hear about something happening to somebody, they on that individual shit talking about they bet not try to run up in here and do that. They bet not run up in here and do that. Man, get the fuck out of here with that shit. And that attitude is the reason why they're able to exploit all of us. Because we don't come into the defense of our neighbor, our
Of the
friend.
and that's the point. Like we can't get together on anything. Like like so many people justified all the wrongs that's happening. You know, in the system that, you know, because it's not just the government. Because like I said, I mean, the corporate entities are probably the biggest, you know, the ones who mainly exploit us directly and indirectly. So when you really, because I mean, that's one of the things that I like. It still bothers me that there was like people got, you know, put out on the street even after our government used our money to give them money to clear up all of the faulty, you know, fraudulent
Literally put out on the
things.
street. Literally foreclosed upon and literally now homeless. And you
Literally.
guess what? The shit is still on your on your
Oh, your
fucking
credit.
credit.
Oh, and that's the other thing. Like, no, like that's like a triple whammy. You know what I'm saying? Because
So now
for one,
you can't never buy another house, maybe, or you're gonna have to do a whole bunch of work to repair your credit because that foreclosure. And guess what? That's public knowledge. Also, people can look that up.
well, and you know, like these were
It
what
might
we would
keep you out
call
of
a
a
sub.
job. It
This
might
is
keep
what
you
we
out of a
call
job.
subprime. This is what we call subprime loans. Because if you were on a subprime loan, that already means that your credit was
On
what
the
you
edge, barely
yeah.
good,
Yeah.
barely
So
acceptable. We
in a
had to get two
nutshell,
loans. We had to get two loans to buy our house
yeah,
because that's how it worked. Because one loan didn't cover the whole amount of the what was left. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And right, that's beside the down payment and everything or whatever.
yeah,
A whole nother loan. So yeah.
yeah, man. That
So,
was
and that's what they do to you if you have, like you say, subprime loan because you're more because your credit rate was right on the edge of being okay, and so okay, well you're kind of a risk. So that's another reason why it's the second loan, too. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Because yeah, one would
And
only get
then
fund so much
and
based
then your
on your
interest rate is high as fuck. So think about this: all the extra money you paid, all the damn interest you paid for nothing. And then,
oh,
like I say, now you got a hard time finding an apartment because they like you have a foreclosure. You have a foreclosure.
yeah,
And like I said, that can affect your jobs when you kind of get a professional job. And like I say, foreclosures, homeowners, that's public knowledge. That's not hard. You don't have to even pay for one of those damn subscriptions to look up people or go to a private investigator or nothing. Totally just Google the person's name and their property that they've owned. It will pop up. It's public knowledge. All right, man. I think I need to wrap it. It's 4:36.
yeah. Should we still end up doing a 4 hour video?
Yeah, and really, you got to count it as 5 because the first hour,
The first episode was 2 hours.
2 hours. So we on
This,
five and a half, almost 6 hours.
yeah.
All right,
Well,
man.
if there's anybody still in the chat, thank y'all for coming out. Appreciate
Yeah.
y'all supporting.
Like and subscribe.
Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Tell us what you like about us. Tell us what you don't like about us in the comment section.
Share with a friend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good night, everyone.
Thank y'all for joining. Peace and love.
Peace.